Commissioner McKinley.
Here.
Commissioner Sacks. Here. Mayor Weinroth.
I am here.
Vice Mayor Weiss.
Here.
Okay, before we move on to the invocation, as you noticed, Commissioner Marino is on the screen. She is under the weather. Under those circumstances, I would like to ask if I can get a motion for her to participate.
Second.
I have a motion by the Vice Mayor, a second by Commissioner
McKinley.
All right. Commissioner McKinley has seconded the motion. All in favor, say all opposed. Okay. So we have a 6-0 vote. It's going to allow Commissioner Marino to participate via WebEx. And now I'm going to ask for the invocation and the pledge. Please, everybody rise.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In honor of Remembrance of D-Day, I'd like to offer a prayer for our soldiers. Gracious God, I pray for our soldiers. Let your grace be a protective shield, guarding them from harm and keeping them close to your love and compassion. May we always remember they are the ones who face the horrors and dangers of war firsthand. Help us honor them for their courage and care for them when there is damage to their bodies or spirits. When they are lonely and afraid and long to be with the sure knowledge of your presence at all times in war and peace, let them feel, O God, deep in their hearts that your love is always there, boundlessly, unconditionally, and eternally. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good, thank you. Commissioner Marino, I'm jealous of that background there of that snow scene. Okay, I'm looking to my favorite county administrator and seeing if we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions.
We have one important addition, and that is an add-on proclamation declaring June 17th as Dump the Pump Day in Palm Beach County.
That sounds like a very important proclamation, and so I'm going to look for a motion to approve the agenda. I have a motion by the Vice Mayor, second by Commissioner Kerner. All in favor, all opposed. I'm going to show that as being approved 7-0. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on now to our consent agenda. Are there any items that anybody would like to pull off the consent agenda? Seeing none, do we have any cards for the consent agenda? No, Mayor, so moved. Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Kerner. I have a second by the Vice Mayor. All in favor of the consent agenda? Opposed? Show the consent agenda has been approved unanimously, 7-0. That brings us to our presentations today, and we have several today. Our first one is going to be on municipal operations. I'm not quite sure who's going to present that today. Who's got that one? All right, but who's got the proclamation?
Oh, it's an award. I'm Alexis.
Oh, it's an award, okay.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. We first wanted to start, we have a very brief video that we wanted to share as an intro into this item, and if we can cue that up.
You count on us to deliver safe, clean, and reliable drinking water. Our team at Palm Beach County Water Utilities Department operates around the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, to keep the water flowing for every customer when they need it most. Our water treatment plants have the capacity to produce up to 100 million gallons of drinking water per day to over 600,000 customers. Each day, our customer service team answers an average of 1,200 calls and distributes over 10,000 billing statements. Palm Beach County water source comes from an underground aquifer and is a finite resource. To ensure the water supply for customers now and into the future, our team is making way for innovative and progressive plans to recharge our aquifers. Utilizing scientifically proven technology, Palm Beach County is taking steps to preserve our precious natural resources. We take pride in delivering a high-quality product and are honored to be recognized as a leader in water reuse technology for our state. In 2021, we became the first water utility in North America to be certified for its continued commitment to managing public assets in accordance with the highest industry standards following ISO 55001 framework. This process began in 2016 with the creation of an asset improvement plan that included more than 2,000 labor hours, the successful implementation of a computerized maintenance management system, and a comprehensive management strategy. Our team of experts are always identifying improvements to ensure the continued quality you have come to rely on. How are we able to deliver quality and innovation with a cost that is among the lowest in the state? Through a continued commitment that is not dependent on one, but embodied by all. From plant operation to customer service, laboratory services, engineering, maintenance, every member of our team. We are here to deliver the best water, the best service, the best environmental stewardship. Palm Beach County, the best of everything. Drink water, drink tap.
And Mayor, Commissioners, Administrator Baker, that's what the best water utility in the state of Florida looks like. And we're fortunate today. We're fortunate today to have from Tallahassee, Ms. Sandra Lee, who's the president of the Florida Water Environmental Association. It's a little different today. You're usually giving out accolades to folks in the public, but they wanted to come here and personally present you and the professionals at our water utility department with their award this year.
Thank you very much. Good morning. So I am Sandra Lee. I work for the City of Tallahassee. I'm the program engineer for wastewater treatment, the other side, one of the other sides of water. I'm pleased to be here on behalf of the Florida Water Environment Association. And Florida Water Environment Association is dedicated to promoting a clean and sustainable water environment by supporting our industry. And the Florida Water Environment Association's Utility Management Committee has recognized Palm Beach County Water Utility for best business practices. As a fantastic video mentioned, the Utilities Department operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year to provide reliable supply of superior quality drinking water to approximately 578,000 residents. With water quality that exceeds federal and state standards, state-of-the-art technology, and a focus on customer service, the Palm Beach County Water Utilities Department takes pride in the level of service it is able to provide for its customers. And with their innovation and forward-thinking management philosophies, these come together in award-winning utilities department to ensure that customers will always have an abundant supply of fresh, high-quality drinking water. And with that, I'm really pleased to present this award for operational performance excellence to Palm Beach County Water Utility.
Well, clearly, water is the most fundamental resource we have. Without water, none of us would be here. And it's an impressive facility at Green Cay where I've had the opportunity to tour and see how we are, again, creating a clean and sustainable water source for our residents. So I really commend our staff for everything they've done, and I thank you for, ensuring the quality of our water, and certainly would love to hear if you'd like to say a few words.
Morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Ms. Baker. I will be quick. In water utilities, we have a saying that we say usually two things never stop with us: making water, making improvements, and that's what we're all about. I appreciate the support, the leadership. We've been working together great, and that's all I can ask. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to continue on with our special presentations, and I'm going to have the Vice Mayor begin with the certificate of recognition for West Palm Beach Fishing Club.
Good morning, everybody. I believe we have some folks here from the West Palm Beach Fishing Club and some of our staff from the Palm Beach County Environmental Resource Management Department here with us this morning. Excellent. Well, I have the honor this morning to present a certificate of recognition to the West Palm Beach Fishing Club for their tireless dedication in creating and enhancing and conserving our marine habitat in Palm Beach County. You all have been tremendous stewards and partners with Palm Beach County over a number of years now. I mean, the programs that you all assist in helping us manage our Lake Worth Lagoon and manage the environment associated in the ecological resources throughout the shoreline off of Palm Beach County. You all participated with us to help create some of the natural shoreline along Curry Park. When we call for help in asking for volunteers, you reach out to your members and ask, they come out, and it's important that we document the types of animals and fish that are inhabiting the Lake Worth Lagoon to help us understand how we might improve it. And then most recently, and I think one of the most interesting and probably scientifically most important contributions you all have made is in sponsoring these devices that can recognize fish that are traveling in the lagoon, and they're coming from virtually all over not only Florida, but the east coast of the United States, and being a participant in it. So that is really helping us moving forward in preserving and protecting our lagoon. So on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, and I believe, Tom, I hope you have a few comments for us this morning, but on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners, I want to thank you and look forward for many years of continuing partnerships with the West Palm Beach Fishing Club and the many years of service you've been giving our community. Thank you.
I'm a fisherman, so I'm never short on words. You know, the West Palm Beach Fishing Club is a real gem in Palm Beach County. It's been there since 1934. It's on the National Historic Register. We have over 1,400 members. 3 of those members are former Palm Beach County environmental directors, Jim Berry, Rob Robbins, Rich Waleski. We have partnered with the scientific community and the research community for pretty much our entire existence. And I started working at the West Palm Beach Fishing Club in 1988. My hair was red then. I believe that was the first year that actually ERM was created. And we've partnered with the county on just countless projects ever since. It's a lot more than just a fishing club. And we have a charitable foundation, and we do all kinds of outreach for underprivileged kids. And Jenna and Caitlin are here from ERM, working closely with them. We're innovating a really cool artificial reef project called Reef Darts. It's Florida's deepest artificial reef, and as the commissioner alluded to, we're really launching forward with acoustic telemetry where we can track the movements of fish, the behaviors of fish, and it's allowing us to understand their utilization of habitats, like all the work that we've put into the Lake Worth Lagoon and these offshore reefs. It's really exciting work. It's revealing a lot of really cool stuff. And none of these projects exist without partners. And I'm here today to say that the West Palm Beach Fishing Club will always be a partner with Palm Beach County, and the work that Deb Drum and her crew is doing there is more important and needed than ever. You know, it's fitting that we had the first recognition for the water utilities. Water's it, gang. It is so critical and so important now, and a lot of our environmental restoration efforts involve the increased capacity of storing water, cleaning water, and moving it around in ways that benefit not only our community, but the Everglades as well. And so the work that the county's Environmental Resources Department is doing now is just tremendous, and they need all the support they can get, because water's what we need. We need clean water. If we don't have any habitat and clean water, we're not going to have any fish. So the West Palm Beach Fishing Club is always going to be going to bat for the fish. So thank you very much. Yep. My Kodak moment.
Commissioner Bernard, you are recognized.
Would Officer Frank St. Cloud please come forward? Before I read this proclamation, I want to personally thank you. Officer St. Cloud has been a sheriff officer for many years to Palm Beach County, and want to thank you personally for your dedication and your work ethic to protecting the residents of Palm Beach County. Thank you. This proclamation of the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, declaring July 2nd, 2022 as Haitian American Music and Food Festival Day. Whereas the Haitian American Music and Food Festival is hosted by Creole Camp, Inc., a nonprofit organization based in Palm Beach County that provides year-round mentoring and after-school sports and culture education programs for Haitian American children. And whereas through its mentoring programs, Creole Camp, Inc., in partnership with several organizations, focuses on providing support to young males who face unique challenges. And whereas Creole Camp, Inc. also hosts Thanksgiving and Christmas community giveaways and toy drives and donates household supplies to families in need. And whereas the festival, which was first held in 2013, today attracts approximately 5,000 attendees and will be held at the South Florida Fairgrounds. And whereas the Haitian American Music and Food Festival strives to promote the cultural value of Haitian customs found in language, food, music, dance, and craftsmanship, and preserve Haitian culture. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session this 7th day of June 2022, that July 2nd, 2022 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed Haitian American Music and Food Festival Day. Congratulations.
Good morning, all. Thank you to Commissioner Mark Bernard. I want to say Creole Camp is a nonprofit organization. We do a lot of charity work throughout the county. We started in Delray. We do a lot of back-to-school giveaway. We give about between 800 to 1,000 backpacks every single year. It is important to highlight different culture, and I'm here to highlight and represent the Haitian culture. Thank you.
Good morning again. Can I have James Green, Dr. Casey Messer, Nita Mahani, and members of our HIV Care Council please join me? It's my honor to present a proclamation on the Board of County Commissioners, and I'll be reading the proclamation shortly. But understanding that HIV, we've made great strides in not only in reducing the incidence of HIV/AIDS, but also in helping people live full and productive lives, when they've been infected. And it's a real honor to be able to present this proclamation this morning. So we in Palm Beach County are going to be declaring that June 27th, 2022 as HIV Testing Day. Whereas more than 8,000 Palm Beach County residents are living with HIV and new infections occur almost every day, and whereas the unique challenges of serving the HIV/AIDS population include stigma and denial and fear of learning the HIV status or disclosing HIV-positive status, discrimination, homophobia, and rejection by family, community, or partner, and whereas through the support of testing, prevention efforts, linkage to care, outreach, and collaboration, the Community Services Department's Ryan White program, the Palm Beach County HIV Care Council, and partnering agencies plan to end the HIV epidemic in the county by 2030. And whereas the Palm Beach County HIV Care Council developed an integrated plan that includes objectives and strategies that are directly related to ensuring that individuals who are unaware of their HIV status are identified, informed of their status, referred to supportive services, and linked to medical care. And whereas the Palm Beach County HIV Care Council's vision is to create a community where individuals with HIV/AIDS can live without prejudice, abandonment, or social stigma, and are provided a comprehensive range of medical and support services that ensure their wellness, independence, and self-sufficiency. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session on the 7th day of June, 2022, that June 27, 2022 in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed HIV Testing Day. Congratulations, and thank you all for your service to the community.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor. I just wanted to thank the county and the county commissioners in the recognition of HIV testing proclamation and how important it is to be tested. What a great honor it is to receive this proclamation. I wanted to say, as the treasurer of the Palm Beach County Care Council, we are always looking to fund and promote testing and treatment. We invite everyone who is interested to become part of the Care Council family. It will be nice when there is a day where there is no longer a need, like today, for HIV, and it is a thing of the past. I just found out that Suncoast High School has an infectious disease club. We have with us today Tan May, the club president. The work of the Care Council is also impacting the youth of our county. Please join me in saying, keep up the good work. Also, I brought with me several flyers that I would like to pass out to you guys so you know a little bit more about us. So thank you for the proclamation.
You're very welcome. Congratulations.
I know. It's a whole group.
Good. That's good. That's what we need.
Commissioner Bernard, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would Carl Boucard please come forward, or anyone who's worked with him with the school district, please come forward? This morning, it's an honor to present this certificate of congratulations to Mr. Carl Boucard. As a former student of Pine Grove Elementary School, Carver Middle School, and Atlantic High School, who took the bus to school, it is so important to know that, someone such as Carl has dedicated over 34 and a half years of service as the transportation department with the school district to make sure that our kids, when they get on that bus, that they're safe and that they go to school and then they're able to return home. And so this has been his calling for the past 34 and a half years. So this certificate of congratulations is presented to Carl Boucard upon his retirement and wishes to express sincere thanks and gratitude for your 30-plus years of dedicated service. Your wisdom and commitment to excellence as General Manager of the Palm Beach County School District's Transportation Department have long inspired all and will be remembered for many years to come. We wish you good health, happiness, and continued success in your retirement on this 7th day of June 2022. Congratulations, Carl.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Commissioner Bernard. Thank you, the mayor, the vice mayor, for this opportunity. It's an honor to be here. As Commissioner Bernard just mentioned, 34 and a half years, it's a long time to wake up every day to serve our children in Palm Beach County. And it wasn't work for me, it was a duty. And I took good pride, great pride to do this work. And our mission within the district, it's not about us, it's about our kids and for student achievement. That's all we are here for. So we appreciate the recognition, and I'm gonna close this chapter, and I'm gonna wish the district well. And again, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Good morning. If I could invite Ramsey, Whitney Carroll, Michelle Pagan, Rick Torrance, and Patrick Rudder to the podium, please. Oh, Patrick's gonna have to take off that Gators lanyard one later. Never gets old. I do take great pride knowing that none of his children decided to go to the University of Florida. Instead, they're Seminoles and Knights. Good morning. We're declaring June 6th through the 10th as Code Enforcement Officers Appreciation Week. Whereas code enforcement officers provide for the safety, health, and welfare of the residents of Palm Beach County through the enforcement of housing, property maintenance, zoning, building, public rights-of-way, environmental, and other codes and ordinances. Code enforcement officers are often not credited for the jobs that they do in improving neighborhoods and overall quality of life. Every day, officers provide quality customer service to the public for the betterment of the community. They are dedicated, well-trained, and highly responsible individuals who take their job seriously and are proud of their department and the local government within which they serve. The Florida Association of Code Enforcement has declared the first week of June to be set aside by local government to honor and recognize their code enforcement officers. And whereas residents of Palm Beach County are encouraged to join the Board of County Commissioners in expressing appreciation for the dedication and outstanding service provided by the individuals who serve as our code enforcement officers. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled today, that June 6th through the 10th in our county is hereby proclaimed Code Enforcement Officers Appreciation Week. And I would just like to say thank you for having a zero tolerance for slumlords and people who allow their tenants to live in unhealthy, unsanitary conditions. And I also want to thank Code Enforcement. If you don't know, they are eyes and ears on the ground in the prevention of human trafficking and have worked hand in hand with law enforcement to shut down human trafficking organizations in Palm Beach County. And I have spoken to law enforcement in rural parts of the state of Florida who wish that some of their counties had a code enforcement operation to help them ensure the public safety in their community. So just wanted to add that on and say thank you to all of you for being unsung heroes, for taking a lot of flack in the community for just doing your job and trying to keep our community clean and safe. So this is your week, and I'd be happy to present this proclamation to Michelle.
Present today is Code Enforcement Manager Richard Torrance and also a Senior Code Enforcement Officer Elizabeth Gonzalez. On behalf of a code enforcement team, every day we do face challenges from items and educating the community that we serve that they may feel that is insignificant, but we know improves the quality of life overall in Palm Beach County. So thank you very much, everybody, for recognizing the hard work that our team does, and we will continue to do so. Thank you.
Okay. I have a list of people I'm going to ask to come up. Representing Palm Trans Service Board, Chair Carmencita Mitchell, Director of Operations, Chad Hockman, Director of Support Services, Joe Harrington, Manager of Performance, Christian Landano, then and also Levi McCullum, Director of Planning. From Tri-Rail Public Affairs, Victoria Garcia, and from our TPA, Interim Director Valerie Nielsen, and Transit Coordinator Greg Gabriel. So last week we had an economic summit, and we as a board and members of our community sat and talked about issues of importance, two very important issues to our community. One is housing and the other is transportation. And we understand that unless we are able to have a vibrant transit system, a public transit system, this county can't grow. So it's very appropriate that today we're going to be declaring June 17th as Dump the Pump Day. And if you've been at the gas pump lately, you probably agree with me, it's time to dump the pump. So let me read you this proclamation that we are issuing today. Whereas public transportation is critical in transporting essential workers, reduces traffic congestion, and creates cleaner air. And whereas the American Public Transportation Association brings together hundreds of transit workers each year to raise awareness and encourage everyone to dump the pump. And whereas PalmTran, working closely with the Palm Beach Transportation Planning Agency, or affectionately known as the TPA, provides 21,000 rides daily and is encouraging everyone to use the promo code VALUE in their Paradise Pass app on June 17th for a free ride. And whereas SFRTA, or affectionately known as Tri-Rail, with its $5 Gets You There marketing campaign to emphasize the benefits of riding public transportation as costs of food, rent, and gas continue to rise, now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, assembled in regular session today, that June 17th in Palm Beach County is hereby proclaimed Dump the Pump Day. Going forward.
Thank you, Mayor Weinroth, Vice Mayor Weiss, Commissioners, and Madam County Administrator. It is so wonderful to be here with you all today in person after so long without a mask. I greet you on behalf of Mr. Clinton B. Forbes and the entire executive leadership team of PalmTran, the Palm Trans Service Board, the entire PalmTran family, and its ridership to thank you for this wonderful proclamation, which is oh so timely. And again, to reiterate what our mayor has said, that with the rising costs of petrol and the costs of living going up exponentially, it is more important than ever to have a viable transportation system in Palm Beach County as well as the Tri-County area. It wouldn't be possible without the support that you provide, and we are so very grateful. And to that end, I need to remind everyone in this assembly that we are fortunate in the microcosm of Palm Beach County, whether you ride public transportation or not, to have elected officials that keep their commitments and value us and our way of life. Thank you, Mayor Weinroth, for that continued commitment to public transport. In order to celebrate this wonderful proclamation and June 17th as Dump the Pump Day, PalmTran again will be providing its Paradise Pass customers $6 to ride the bus for free with the code VALUE as part of its commitment at PalmTran to value its ridership. And on a personal note, I just want to say, of course, as chairwoman of the board of the PalmTran Service Board, holding the regular fixed route rider seat and also a connection user, I personally have been a beneficiary of all the funding and support that this body has provided to enable PalmTran to keep its mission of providing access to opportunity for all in a manner that is safe, efficient, and courteous. We thank you so very much.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask if Mr. Garcia would like to represent Tri-Rail.
Sure, thank you very much. And all I have to say is, on behalf of the SFRTA, to the Palm Beach Commission for its infinite support. For the 33 years, we were that little train that could, and we're still here. And this particular event is a good reminder for your residents and visitors that we can take them, connect them to Broward, Miami-Dade, as well as those visitors and residents to come to Palm Beach County at a fraction of the cost of what we're paying now to pump our cars. We can take you there. So thank you very much.
And finally, Interim Director Nielsen.
Good morning. We are so excited to celebrate Dump the Pump, and we hope that everyone will try transit, whether it be Palm-Tran, Tri-Rail, Brightline, or our local trolleys here in downtown. Help the environment, help alleviate congestion, and try transit. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
James Green, need you back down here. And also Tammy Lampy, Sabrina Cooper, and Marcia Hibbert, if you are here. You're a busy man. Good morning. We're declaring June 2022 as Elder Abuse Awareness Month. Whereas older adults deserve to be treated with respect and dignity to enable them to serve as leaders, mentors, volunteers, and vital participating members of our community. In 2006, the International Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse, in support of the United Nations International Plan of Action, proclaimed a day to recognize the significance of elder abuse as a public health and human rights issue. The National Center on Elder Abuse and the Palm Beach County Community Services Department Division of Senior and Veteran Services recognize the importance of taking action to raise awareness and prevent elder abuse. Through the Community Care for the Elderly program, the county's Division of Senior and Veteran Services provides community-based services organized in a continuum of care to help older adults live in the least restrictive yet most cost-effective environment suitable to their needs. As life expectancy increases, we are presented with an opportunity to think about our collective needs and future as a nation. It is up to all of us to ensure that proper social structures exist so adults can retain community and societal connections, reducing the likelihood of abuse. The prevention of elder abuse by maintaining and improving social supports, such as the services available through our county senior centers, and providing a wide range of in-home and community-based goods and services will allow everyone to continue to live as independently as possible and contribute to the vibrance of our communities. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled today, that June 2022 in our county is hereby proclaimed Elder Abuse Awareness Month. And I'm getting close to needing those services, so we appreciate everything that you do to protect our seniors in our community. Mr. Green?
Thank you, Commissioners, Commissioner McKinley. You know, Palm Beach County, over 30% of our residents are above the age of 60, and there are many incidents where our seniors are victims of fraud and scams. And the Division of Senior and Veteran Services, along with its partners from the Area Agency on Aging, the Department of Elder Affairs, 211, and many others, host a number of workshops to make sure that seniors are aware of ways to prevent scams. And we make sure that seniors are protected to the best of our ability, but we can't do it alone. It's important for those of you that are watching to know that if you know of a senior who is a victim of fraud or scam, that you can call the 1-800-96-ABUSE hotline and report it as quickly as possible. And we also encourage you to make sure that you're doing regular visits with our seniors and calling and checking up on them. Make sure that you are working with them to block solicitations on their phones or in the mail to the best of your ability. Many of the scams are done by caregivers, and if we can figure out ways to give caregivers respite and alleviate some of the stressors that they are dealing with, it's another way that we can reduce the number of
fraud incidents that occur, and make sure that you're setting up safeguards with your seniors at various banks. My father was a victim of scams and fraud, and we found out too late. And so it's really important that you guys don't take this for granted. If you have a senior that you are aware of that does not have someone that's looking out for them, make sure that you visit the AAA website or give us a call so that we can give you some tips on how to protect them from fraud and scams. Thank you very much.
For those of you watching at home, not AAA, the Motor Club, AAA, the Area Agency on Aging.
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Sachs, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mayor. It is my great pleasure today to call up a personal friend and our county artist, Rolando Chang Barrero. Would you come forward, Rolando? Rolando, you were raised in Coconut Grove. You currently live in West Palm Beach. You have a studio in Boynton Beach. You have been creating art for more than 40 years. You had to start in kindergarten, Rolando, for 40 years. And over the years, Rolando, you have developed your talent and appreciation for art as a powerful means of communication. And whereas, Rolando Chang Barrero, you're a multimedia artist with a portfolio including fashion design, video, film, painting, sculpture, acting, and performance art. And whereas you have been recognized as one of the 9 most intriguing persons in the regional arts, one of the 10 great trailblazers, you've received a congressional letter of commendation for your contributions to the advancement of the arts. And whereas, Rolando, you have received a Cultural Council for Palm Beach County's 2020 Muse Award, acknowledging your outstanding cultural leadership, and you have been recognized by the South Florida Gay News for Best LGBT Activist, Best Art Gallery, Best Artist numerous times. And whereas you initiated cultural programming and exchanges with Latin American countries, including Colombia, Guatemala, and Cuba, at the Box Gallery, a 4,000 square foot multimedia exhibit space for projections, performance, and installation art in West Palm Beach. And whereas you also initiated the Boynton Beach Activist Artists of Bay Gates Project, the first rotating outdoor mural exhibition, which attracts visitors daily. And whereas you have provided over 500 culturally significant visual arts exhibitions and programs throughout Palm Beach County, raising awareness of important issues related to the environment, drug addiction, homelessness, sexual abuse, child slavery, HIV, immigration, and civil unrest. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, assembled in regular session the 7th day of June 2022, that this day shall be known and proclaimed as County Artist Rolando Chang Barrero Day. Congratulations. Let me come over here for the picture.
Not one to be known for not having any words because I'm generally very vocal. I'm speechless and I'm humbled. I arrived here 12 years ago because of, and my friends that just left there, a broken human being. I was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer in '93, and I didn't recover gracefully. And I ended up somewhat crippled, and it was a long journey. 12 years ago, I arrived here because of recovery. And I know that people in recovery have a bad name in this town, but because of the support that Palm Beach County gives people, and the oversight that you have on the whole recovery system here, it's been a blessing for me. I'm celebrating this because of the efforts that this county provided me over 12 years ago. Thank you so much.
This is the best part of my job, I tell you. All right, the next one, if I could have Jim Bonfiglio, former mayor, come on up. And also I have coaches, head coach Chris Ostelzen, right? Head coach Chris, and assistant coach Ian Henry. That's a lot easier, I appreciate it. Okay, this is a proclamation recognizing, and those of you who didn't know this, you're going to learn something new today, the Palm Beach Panthers Rugby Club 2022 National Championship. Whereas the Palm Beach Panthers Rugby Club was founded in 1977 and played its first game at Roosevelt High School in West Palm Beach. Whereas the players have come from all over the country, and several local businesses have supported the club. And whereas the Palm Beach Panthers Rugby Club is composed 34 members, led by head coach Chris, give me a hand here. Oosthuizen. And assistant coaches Jeff Oxenreider and Ian Henry. And whereas the club won the Florida Men's Division III Rugby Championship titles 2018, 2019, 2021, and 2022, they have a record of 8-0 in the USA Club Rugby, Florida Rugby Union, Men's East Division, the third, and whereas with this record, the team qualified to play in the USA Rugby Club third national playoffs, and on April 23rd defeated the Savannah Shamrocks, 65-15. That's a high-scoring game. Well, yeah, you did. There's no doubt. Whereas on May 21st, the Palm Beach Panthers Rugby Club defeated the Red Mountain Warthogs 38-20 in the semifinals. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, assembled in regular session, 7th day of June 2022, that the board hereby recognizes the Palm Beach Panthers Rugby Club 2022 National Championship. Okay, congratulations.
Go ahead.
First of all, thank you very much for having us. It's hard to follow a lot of those awesome, great groups that were ahead of us. But shockingly, there is a rugby club in Florida. There's quite a few. And we are the Palm Beach Panthers Rugby. I want to thank the commissioners, vice mayor, mayor, administrator. We've had a long-standing relationship with field utilizations with you guys. Today we practice at Dyer Park, and that's where we play. And I will tell you, there are teams from all over want to come and play on that field. It's the nicest rugby field in all of Florida. So it's well maintained. I don't know who maintains it, but I would say awesome job. We have 34 current players. As I said, there's Chris Oosthuizen, our head coach. Our other assistant coach couldn't make it, but we want to thank all of you. This is a men's club. It's from all walks of life. You should come out and watch a game if you get a chance. Our Facebook page is Palm Beach Panthers Rugby. We thank you.
Good-looking guy. Okay, here we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
When are we going to get a woman in it?
We want to start a woman.
All right, that is the end of our special presentations for the morning, so that's going to take us now to our regular agenda. And before Laura Beebe can even get out of her seat, we're going to see if we can't deal with 5A1 and 5A2. These are items in the infinite wisdom of our legislators up north feel that the governing body of a commercial service airport cannot approve an item over $325,000 in a Category 5 threshold without this being on a regular agenda item. I have Commissioner Kerner making a motion to approve 5A1. I have a second by the Vice Mayor. All in favor, all opposed. This is approved 7-0. The next item is the same. It's item 5A2. I have a motion by Commissioner Kerner, second by the Vice Mayor. All in favor, all opposed. It's approved 7-0. Ms. Beebe, go back and keep our airport safe. All right, we're now moving on to 5B1, and we're going to have a presentation here. And I think our Chief Judge is here today. And this is exciting. This has been a project that is predates most of us sitting up here. And I understand we have made remarkable progress thanks to our Chief Judge with respect to this. So let's have a presentation, Isami.
And I will be brief. Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Isami Ayala, Director of Facilities Development and Operations. Joining me is Mike Jones, Chief Assistant County Attorney. The item that you will be considering today provides for the approval of the Palm Beach County Judicial Facilities Master Plan update and of the Consultant Services Authorization Number 5 with Leo Daly Company to provide professional design services for the main county courthouse build-out and renovations project per the approved infrastructure surtax project plan. The latest update to the county's Judicial Facilities Master Plan was approved in 2006. At the time, the master plan provided projections of core activity based on historic and then current trends and of personnel and space requirements by each core partner. The 2006 master plan established a unified vision forward as to the space accommodations that will be needed to carry judicial operations into the future. In 2015-2016, the county once again retained consultant services to update the 2006 master plan. Over those 10 years, growth had remained static as South Florida and the remainder of the nation experienced a severe economic recession. Since then, county staff and its consultants have engaged with courts administration and the judicial partners in updating the master plan to expand the database covering years 1996 through 2015 and projecting conditions into year 2040. This has been a collaboration that require and involve representatives from all stakeholders, the 15th Judicial Circuit, the Office of the State Attorney, the Office of the Public Defender, the Clerk of the Circuit Court and Controller, the Sheriff, Guardian ad litem, and county staff, amongst others. The process implemented to update the master plan can be summarized in 3 steps: data gathering, application of space standards to caseload and personnel, and development of options and capital needs plans to accommodate anticipated growth. Without doubts, the ability to effectively forecast needs is highly dependent on the information obtained through the data gathering phase. As such, all stakeholders were deeply involved. Typical of any forecasting effort, high-level assumptions were also identified and agreed upon by all participants. Most importantly, that the number and associated square footage of available judicial facilities is fixed, and that the Chief Judge holds ultimate responsibility for work assigned to each judicial facility. County staff provided information regarding population growth, existing square footage assigned to each stakeholder by facility location, and current space standards. The Judicial Circuit, along with the judicial partners, provided information regarding core filings, caseloads, and projected personnel. The information obtained through the data gathering process was then used to prepare projections as to the space needs to carry judicial operations into the future. The current slide and the 2 that follow will provide you a summary of the space requirements of each component of judicial operations at each one of the judicial facilities, that is the main county courthouse and all satellite courthouses. In showing this information, I do not intend to discuss each line individually, but rather provide provide this board a high-level overview of the level of detail that was incorporated into the analysis and the master plan update. Said projections also led to a determination of the number of litigation spaces needed at each facility, as summarized on this slide. There are two key takeaways from the updated master plan as being presented to this board today. First, to meet judicial facilities' need until year 2040, an interim capital plan will need to be implemented. Second, if all projections hold true, to meet judicial facility needs beyond year 2040, construction of a new judicial facility will be required. Let us review both in more detail. The interim plan that will help carry operations into year 2040 provides for minor renovations to be implemented in the main county courthouse. The renovations include reallocation of spaces amongst different judicial partners, delivery of a PBSO command center, and minor adjustments that seek to optimize the space use. It also includes the build-out of the first 7 and 8 floors, which currently remain as shell space. Said floors will accommodate additional standard and large volume courtrooms, a judicial conference center, magistrate hearing rooms, administrative support space, and judicial suites. The final configuration of each floor is a matter that will be addressed during the design process. The second takeaway from the master plan update is that to meet judicial facilities needs past year 2040, a new judicial facility will need to be built. In reviewing potential configurations and siting options, the stakeholders, along with county staff and its consultants, determined that it will best serve judicial operations and overall efficiency to have the new facility built close to the main county courthouse and the state attorney public defender building. Therefore, the county's Block D, also known as the 4th Street parking lot, was identified for said purposes. If growth projections hold true, the new facility will house family and juvenile matters and their supporting spaces, along with new accommodations for the Office of the Public Defender. The space currently occupied by the Public Defender will then transition to be used by the Office of the State Attorney, such that the current shared building will become entirely occupied by the State Attorney. The resulting program spaces for the main county courthouse and the new judicial facility leads to a new building of approximately 300,000 gross square feet, plus structure parking. Final determination regarding timing for the construction of the new facility will be dependent on the evolution of the aggregate space needs that court administration and the judicial partners experience throughout the years ahead. The offices of the State Attorney and the Public Defender have expressed ongoing concerns related to the availability of sufficient space prior to the full implementation of the improvements identified in the Master Plan update. To ensure the most efficient use of county resources, when additional space needs of those offices is realized in the future, county staff may recommend alternative space accommodations, for example, leasing to meet immediate needs of the judicial partners prior to the delivery of the new facility on Block D. A significant capital commitment will be required to construct the new judicial facility on Block D. If projections hold true, county staff expect that the project will be incorporated into the county's 5-year capital improvement program in or around year 2035. In closing, staff is recommending approval of the final report of the Palm Beach County Judicial Facilities Master Plan update dated April 2022, and of consultant services authorization number 5 with Leo Daly Company in the amount of $2,026,992 to provide professional design services and construction administration for the main county courthouse build-out and renovation project toward implementation of the Master Plan update. I will be remiss if I fail to recognize the effort that those that preceded us invested on getting this master plan update to the point that it will allow for approval by this board today. This update has been a multi-year effort. It entailed collaboration of numerous representatives from the 15 judicial circuit, the judicial partners, and county staff. Our special appreciation to Chief Judge Kelly and the judicial partners for working with county staff and our consultants in recent months to reach agreements in the few open items that remain, which in turn allow for the master plan update to be finalized. This concludes staff presentation. We will address any questions as the board deems it appropriate.
Very good, thank you. Chief Judge, I'd love to have you come up and say a few words before we have some discussion on this.
Oh, I appreciate that. Obviously, I'm here in support of adoption of the master plan and moving forward with the design program. Primarily, what I want to do at this point is to thank the county under Ms. Baker's leadership and ISMA in particular in facilities for the manner in which that they have worked with the court and the court partners to bring this to fruition. They've worked hard. They've worked in a spirit of cooperation. They've had a can-do attitude, which is exactly what you need when you're serving the citizens of Palm Beach County, and that is what they have exemplified. And I just want to rise at this time in appreciation to the county for that. I think we've had a good working relationship, at least since I've become chief. It's less than a year, I know, but we've had a very good relationship with the county, and the leadership has been outstanding. I would also, frankly, like to acknowledge my predecessors because this project has been ongoing for a long time. When I arrived, Judge Kathleen Kroll was the chief judge. She worked on this project, followed by Peter Blanc, followed by Jeff Colbath, and then finally by Krista Marks, who handed it off to me. A lot of fine people have worked on this. It is needed, and I think it will make Palm Beach County an even better place to practice law and for service of the citizens of Palm Beach County. So I just want to express my thanks to the board and to the staff because they've worked very hard on this. It's needed, and like I said, the relationship has been great, and they have had nothing but a can-do attitude from the beginning. So I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask you to fill out a card before you leave the chamber today, just for record keeping.
For the record, okay. I don't think I ever stated my name, did I? I'm a little rusty at this podium, you know. I haven't been an attorney in a while, so I should have said Chief Judge Glenn Kelly, but I'll fill out a card.
Thank you so much. And our county administrator would like to be recognized.
Chief Judge Kelly, I want to thank you for assisting us in landing this plane, literally. We've changed in the air a couple of times. It's been frustrating on both sides, but you were able to help guide us in with your can-do attitude. And so I want to personally thank you for that and to thank our staff. Audrey Wolf has worked through 5 or 4 chief judges. ISME came along and we were able to finalize it. So I am grateful that we have a master plan. We'll now be able to move forward with the proper planning, and to also thank Mike Jones for assisting us along with FDO staff back in the office.
Thank you, County Administrator. Commissioner Kerner, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Your Honor, Chief Judge Kelly, for the comments today and your participation as Chief Judge in this process. If you've listened to some of the comments that have been made today, we're all very excited about this progress, but there were some code words in there about this process not being the easiest one to get through at times because there's a lot of stakeholders and there's limited space. But I did want to say that it should be no surprise to me anymore, and certainly to the board, the way in which ISMA has handled this. She came in after a very long procedural history with many chief judges and a former facilities director. This was one of the first issues that I worked on with Verdini in the courts when I came to the County Commission in 2017. And it looks like the right balance has been met here, and we're very appreciative, both as an attorney that practices, as a member of the bar, and as a county commissioner and participant in the justice system. So I'm happy to make the motion on 5B1.
Okay. I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second by Commissioner McKinley? Vice Weiss?
Thank you. I just, first off, thank you very much, SME, for your, not only your presentation, but, you know, in preparing me, and I think all the other commissioners in advance, and spending a great deal of time with us on this. I did have one question, though. I just, because this is so forward-looking, and as you're planning, the question, I think, primarily to do with, you've got the space where if the space where we're planning to incorporate the state attorney and into the space where the public defender also share into one facility, if it's in the future, if in fact it's needed to have a larger space on that site, as you're moving forward on the project, when you develop on the 4th Street site, will you have room not you, but somebody in the future needs to relocate their facility and build something larger on that site, is that been contemplated that you could make that move, or would you have to look for another space?
That analysis has not been done as of today, but certainly can be done. It's just a matter of looking into it. And just to be clear, we're talking about the state attorney and the public defender current office
Correct.
space building, right? If we needed to redevelop that in a different way. That assessment has not been done, but certainly can be done at the time. What we have considered through this master plan is to build new space for the public defender, have them move out into the new facility, I'm talking after year 2040, and then have the state attorney take what we call both sides of the building, right?
Okay, all right, well, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Sacks?
I think with Isami's great determination, we were able to bring this, as Ms. Baker said, to a good landing. And thank you, Chief Judge, as someone who has litigated in 3 major county courthouses, this is the prize. I think Palm Beach County's circuit courthouse here is really the finest from Miami-Dade and Broward, and I say that on the record. But, and thank you to our staff, because it was not an easy, and it's been a number of years, but it's something that we need. It really deserves this kind of attention for all these years. So thank you very much.
Very good. All right, so we have a motion on 5B1 A and B by Commissioner Kerner, seconded by Commissioner McKinley. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, all opposed, that is approved unanimously, 7-0. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming to be here today. All right, we are going to move on now to item 5C1. And Commissioner McKinley, I know this is something that is very near and dear to you, so would you like to just say a few words about this before we move it along?
If we could allow our county administrator to speak on behalf of the Legislative Affairs Department and recognize a few people in the audience, and then I think we're going to do a group presentation, but I'll speak after.
Very good. Okay,
Todd does.
Mr. Bonlaren, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, Administrator Baker. Today is a very difficult day, but a very special day before the Board of County Commissioners, as we recognize 2 of our finest in law enforcement whose lives were taken way too soon. And we recognize their service, we recognize the community that they served, and we also recognize their friends and their family who have also joined us here today. First off, wanted to say thank you to the Board of County Commissioners, specifically Commissioner McKinley, for including this as part of our county's legislative program. There is a process that's engaged sometimes when you go about naming names for roads, particularly state roads. And we worked very closely with our legislative affairs team, and thank you, Ed Chase and the team, for your work over the last couple of years on bringing this particular item across the finish line. We passed Senate Bill 160 during the 2022 state legislative session, and we thank both Representative Kelly Skidmore and Senator Gail Harrell. Representative Skidmore is represented today in the chamber by Gwen Gonzalez and Amy Chamberlain. If you can please stand and be recognized. Thank you very much for your efforts in supporting this large task in Tallahassee this past year. We also wanted to thank DOT for their work with us on this particular legislation. They ultimately will be the ones that will bring forward those markers that we will put and designate these particular roads. So we wanted to briefly, we're going to be presenting the family, and there are representatives from both families here today, and just read into the record the resolution that the board will be presenting them today individually. Whereas in the early morning hours of November 28, 2007, Deputy Sheriff Donta Manuel and Deputy Sheriff Jonathan Wallace, as well as several other PBSO deputies, were responding to a report of a stolen vehicle in progress in Belglade. And whereas while participating in a tactical initiative to apprehend the fleeing stolen vehicle, Deputy Sheriff Manuel, along with Deputy Sheriff Wallace, were struck by one of the pursuing patrol cars while attempting to remove stop sticks from the roadway on State Road 715 near Lake Okeechobee, and both deputies were killed instantly. And whereas Deputy Sheriff Manuel was 33 years old and served with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office for 13 years, Deputy Sheriff Wallace was 23 years of age and served with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office for 18 months. And whereas the passage of Senate Bill 160 during the 2022 legislative session provides for the construction of honorary designations of certain transportation facilities in specified counties and directs the Department of Transportation to construct suitable markers, and whereas FDOT has been directed to construct suitable markers designating that portion of 715 as Deputy Sheriff Donta Manuel and Deputy Sheriff Jonathan Wallace Hogway, and whereas the roadway is within FDOT's jurisdictional limits, and FDOT will be responsible for the design, construction, and maintenance of the honorary designation markers. And whereas Section 334.071 Florida statutes requires the appropriate city or county commission pass a resolution in support of any proposed honorary designation markers prior to their construction. And whereas the roadway where the proposed honorary designation will be constructed lies within Palm Beach County, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida, that the foregoing whereas clauses are true and correct and are made part of this resolution, and the Board of County Commissioners of Palm Beach County, Florida recognizes FDOT as the agency responsible for the design, construction, and maintenance of the honorary designation markers. And we'll be presenting both these resolutions as well as a special presentation at the conclusion of this ceremony to Dr. Patricia Wallace, the mother, and also Suzette Manuel, the wife of both of our deputy sheriffs, Donta Manuel and Jonathan Wallace. Mayor, we have a number of individuals that are with us today who would like to be recognized briefly to make some comments about these two brave men and share some of their personal stories with the Board of County Commissioners. And if you don't mind, we would like to start with some of the members of PBSO. Present today are some of our deputies who serve in the Glades region of Palm Beach County, Captain Silva, Captain Payne, Captain Ludi, and Sergeant Ortiz. Captain Silva is going to speak on behalf of PBSO today, if you would recognize him.
Thank you. Gentlemen, you are recognized.
So first of all, I want to thank you. It's a great honor to be here and to stay. Sheriff Bradshaw was unable to make it due to unforeseeable circumstances and to represent the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office at large. This is obviously a very important day, and it was really a great honor to be the district commander, the commanding officer for both of those deputies back in 2007. I can tell you it was a tough period for everybody. And I know there's a lot of people who might want to say different things, but I just want to say that I think, first of all, it's appropriate and fitting to use quotes in an occasion like this. And one of the quotes that's often used in Tallahassee and also in Washington each and every year during the police week and during the law enforcement memorials is that it's not the way that the officer who lost his life died that makes them heroes, it's the way that they live their lives. And I can tell you that nowhere is that more true than in the case of both Deputy Manuel and Deputy Wallace. And the reason I say that is because they were so good at what they did and their jobs as deputy sheriffs. They were extremely tenacious. They were creative in terms of going after fugitives. They did it at almost all cost. And the way they did their job was inspiring. Believe me, the bad guys on the streets knew them, but more importantly, both of those deputies knew who they were. And the way they did their job, I tell you, the loss that day was a tremendous loss for the family and friends, obviously, but it was a tremendous loss for the county at large because of how good they were at what they did. So another quote that comes to mind, and the last one I'll use, is, even the scriptures say that we should give honor to where honor is due. And that's what we're doing here today. And that's what will happen each and every time people drive down State Road 715 out in the Western County area and see those honorary designation markers. So for everyone that was involved in passing Senate Bill 160, this board, I'm sure there's a lot of people that did a lot of work. I want to just say thank you on behalf of the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office. And also, I know there's some family members that are back here. I just want to tell them how proud I am. I see Miss Manuel now and Miss Wallace of the way they came through all of this very, very difficult time. So thank you, everybody, for what you did to make sure we got this bill done. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Silva. Mayor, we also have members and community leaders from the Glades area that also share in this particular loss. If we could ask Mayor Steve Wilson, Mayor Keith Babb, Dr. Robert Reese, Leandre Camel, on behalf of the Tri-City region to come forward and make some remarks. And I don't know if there's anybody else that would like to join them at the rostrum as well.
Good afternoon. My name is Keith Babb. I'm the mayor of the city of Pahokee. I've been a elected official for 28 years. I was devastated the day that both Deputy Sheriff Manuel and Wallace lost their life. Wallace was a resident of Pahokee and a family member. The city of Pahokee also sponsored his academy, and we would love to have Palm Beach County PBSO provide a scholarship, possibly for both Manuel and Wallace, in honor of them serving as African American law enforcement. We are a minority community, and that would be a great honor if we can do that. The loss of life was just at least a quarter of a mile from my residence, and I see the marker every day, and I thank the county commission for your supporting this legislation to have this honor in their behalf. And we thank you. We have our city manager here, some of our staff. The city is still in mourning. They are lost but never forgotten. And what you'll be doing here today and supporting will make sure that that occurs. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioner Sack, Commissioner Bernard, Commissioner Kerner, and our all-time favorite, Commissioner McKinley. In the absence of Commissioner Moreno, I bring greetings to all of you on behalf of the Glades community. Yes, this is a bittersweet moment for all of us as we pay tribute to two fine officers who gave their all in the line of duty. But Shakespeare once wrote the words, "One should be always true to thyself," and those deputies were true to themselves. But more importantly to us today, we're saying thank you to our state lawmakers for putting out that bill, SB 160, and to you as county commissioners. What an excellent job you guys are doing, but more importantly today, recognizing these families. And to the families, our heart goes out to you, and we know at the end of the day that you will always remember not only your family member, but their service to mankind. God bless you, and God keep us in His prayer. Thank you.
Thank you, mayors.
I'm Dr. Reese, the city manager for the city of Belglade and representing the other two city managers. Just want to take this opportunity to truly thank you for what you're doing this morning in this resolution. That's a day that I will never forget. I was 3 months into a position of chaplain of the Palm Beach County Sheriff Department when I got the call about this particular situation. And I'm just thankful to the Sheriff Department, how they gathered and came around this family and was with them throughout the situation, even afterwards. But again, this is, I think, is really an honor to those two deputies who really gave great service to our community. Captain Silva described them correctly, because they were two that I heard of when I first started with the chaplaincy at Palm Beach Sheriff Office, and everyone spoke very highly of them. And again, I want to just commend the families and thank them for the privilege that they gave me to serve with them as well. But I want to just let them know we're still with them, and we're still supporting them in both our Tri-City areas, and anything that we can do, we will work with the families. But again, thank you for this resolution and what you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reese. We next would ask that Suzette Manuel, the wife of Deputy Sheriff Donta Manuel, please, if she would like to make some comments.
I just want to say thank you all so much. Such a wonderful way to honor my husband's life. He loved his job, he loved what he did, and despite the loss, my family and I know he lost his life doing what he loved, and I just want to tell you all thank you for honoring him in such a wonderful way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Manuel. We'd also invite up Dr. Patricia Wallace, the mother of Deputy Sheriff Jonathan Wallace.
I don't move as fast as I used to. I stop a moment to take a breath, a sigh of relief, to say thank you. I'm a crybaby, so my tears are tears of joy. On a sad day, Jonathan celebrated his 38th birthday on Sunday. 15 years ago, we lost him, but we gained a larger family. Suzette is now my baby, and the boys are my grandchildren. So we two now are one. It has been a long time, but we are grateful for this moment. The designated portion of this road just stops just past where my son's auntie lives. So that's encompassing that. You didn't know that when they designated that portion of the road. He was so close to home, but yet so far. To the county commissioners, the legislators who work hard to get this done, to the officers of Palm Beach County Sheriff's offices, and especially Tammy Bunting, Michael Fincannon, they were persistent in making sure that something was done to honor these officers. To those who fought in legislature to make sure that it got done, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Words cannot say loud enough how we feel. Yes, we still do cry, as any parent who has ever lost a child. And I can't speak as a wife because I didn't lose a husband, but I do know the heart of Suzette Manuel, and we two now are one. So I say thank you again for this resolution. Thank you for this act that we will always remember them in our hearts forever. To the officers of Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, I don't know so many other faces anymore, but I am grateful for you and your sacrifice. There's not a day go by that I don't pray for you, that you make it home to your families, that your sons and daughters will get to see their dads and moms again. There's not a day go by when I see a car stop side the road that I not only look back twice to make sure that they're okay, but to make sure that they can drive off from that stop position. It's difficult being in law enforcement. it's difficult passing legislation that affects the lives of so many people. But I want to thank you for the time. It's taken 15 years to get here. It doesn't matter when we arrive. It just makes good feelings in the heart of the family that we did get to this place. So again, thank you so very much. Captain Silver and the staff, thank you. Buddy White, we call him Buddy White. He's Officer White. Thank you. He has been with our family from day one, and we are grateful. There are so many people we could thank. I can't call all the names, but to each and every one of you in your respective places, thank you for loving us, even during our hurting times. The pain don't go away overnight. If you've never been in this is a place I don't invite you to. I pray that you live long, happy, and prosperous lives always. Thank you again for your service.
Thank you, Dr. Wallace. At this time, we wanted the opportunity for any of the members of the Board of County Commissioners to make any comments, and we were going to conclude with a special presentation by Commissioner McKinley to the families, and we would invite the families and PBSO and the mayors up for a photo at that moment.
Commissioner McKinley, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. I'm choking up here because, you know, every time you hear of the officers who lost their lives, it strikes a chord. But when you hear that one of them was 23 years old, my youngest was 5 years old when those officers were killed in the line of duty. She's now 20 and about to graduate with a criminal justice degree and looking at applying to a law enforcement academy. So I think as a possible mama-to-be of a law enforcement employee, it hits a little bit close to home today. I want to thank Ed Chase for giving me a heads up that this bill was coming up in the last committee of reference. And I said, I'm driving up there, and he's like, well, you know, I can put a card in. We can wave in support. I said, oh, no. I want to be there. I want to do this one personally. And, you know, when you're immediate past president of the Association of Counties and you walk into an appropriations committee in the last week of session and you sit down, they all look at you like, oh, geez, what is she here for? So it was nice to be able to wave in support of a bill that, for my colleagues up here who have served in the legislature, when I say that this became a train bill, you know why that struck some nerves in me, made me a little bit nervous. We had tried to push this bill in previous sessions and it hadn't gone through. And near the end of session, when other members of the legislature start to see that a bill is moving, all of a sudden they throw amendments onto that bill to try to get their stuff passed. And sometimes that can be the demise of a bill, as it had been previously, but this year it did not end up being the case. So a lot of good pieces and highway renamings were added to this bill, so many families will be honored and recognized. And we thanked Senator Harrell, and we thanked Representative Skidmore. I want to thank Senator Polsky as well. She had also worked on this. And what I don't get the opportunity to do often, I would like to thank Speaker Sprowls and President Simpson for allowing this bill to be heard on the floor in the end of session and letting it pass through. And I also want to thank Governor DeSantis for signing the bill into law, because we know we wouldn't be here today if that bill had not been signed into law. To the families, thank you for allowing us to play a part in this recognition for the loved ones that you lost. To our law enforcement family, also thank you for letting us be a piece of this. And you had to get up and you had to keep working that day, and you had to get up the next day and go to work. And I know that was quite a tragedy. I was a stay-at-home mom back when that happened, and I remember just how it reverberated through the community, and everybody was in pain. It was such a tragic situation. And Todd, you thanked DOT. I'm trying to do a better job of spelling out acronyms. To those of you at home, that's the Florida Department of Transportation. Not only are they erecting these signs, but they're also improving the road conditions on that state highway to make it a safer road for all who travel on it. So I want to thank Regional Secretary Jerry O'Reilly for helping us make that happen. And just to the mayors and the city managers, thank you for your leadership and for being here today and for being the glue that kept all of us together on this issue and allowed us to be here. And to the two men who lost their lives, may they rest in peace. May they fly over this location with their angel wings and look down with pride, knowing that they served their community and did the best that they could to keep us safe. With that, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 5C1, and I'd like to ask Commissioner Kerner to second it for me.
I'd be honored to second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McKinley, Commissioner Kerner. Commissioner Kerner, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mayor, and if Commissioner McKinley doesn't mind, I'd like to make some comments as well. You know, what a moment today is in the history of Palm Beach County to honor these two brave and diligent public servants and law enforcement officers. I remember where I was when I found out about this horrific tragedy, an act of heroism. I was working my shift as a police officer in the city of Alachua, and I was and am the same age as Deputy Wallace. And I remember, you know, the shock of the circumstances and acts of bravery that surrounded their unfortunate passing. Captain Silva spoke about focusing on the actions of someone's lives rather than the way that they perished. And that's so very true, but it's important to remember their final acts of their life just before they perished. And there's been a lot of discussion in our country lately about whether certain officers or deputy sheriffs around the country will honor their oath and their duty to their community to give their life in protection and sacrifice. And that's true that question can be asked to anybody in that moment. You don't have to be a police officer or a member of the military. Could be a good Samaritan. The truth is we really never know how a human will respond under life-threatening circumstances and in sacrifice to the community. But we'll never have to wonder about these two deputy sheriffs, Deputies Wallace and Manuel, what they would do in that moment. The image of policing or the thought of policing can conjure up a lot of images about how men and women serve in uniform. And for me, I don't think law enforcement is ever better represented than that image of a deputy or a trooper or a police officer on patrol late at night, typically alone on a dark road, waiting for that call, waiting for that pursuit, making that traffic stop and making a decision to be proactive and risk his or her life in the defense of their community and safety of their community. And these two deputies typified that spirit of service. They didn't have to take those actions. They could have let that car go by. They didn't have to get the stop sticks. They didn't have to participate, but they did. And they put themselves in such danger. And they did that knowingly. And to me, there's no better representation in the spirit of service and professionalism and keeping our promises and our oaths to our communities and our family members and our neighbors. And I cannot think of any more representative way than their actions on that evening. And so as a Palm Beach County resident, as a Palm Beach County native, as a son of a law enforcement officer, as a former law enforcement officer, these two men will always be heroes in my life and will be a guiding spirit in how we should all seek to serve our communities. Thank you so much for what the families have done. Every time your son goes to work or your husband goes to work, you go to work with them, because their lives are at risk, and thus your way of life is at risk. And so you serve beside them, and you serve with them, and we are so thankful for the way that you've represented their lives and raised them and loved them and instilled the morals and values and courage into them. Their actions are a direct reflection of both of you here today and all the family members. Thank you so much for your sacrifice.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner McKinley?
Yes, just in closing, I heard Mayor Babb loud and clear. I'll be the first one to make a contribution to the Palm Beach State College Foundation towards a scholarship for a Glades resident to attend the Public Safety Academy at Palm Beach State College. With that, Mayor, I know you need to call the vote, but upon conclusion of the vote, I'd like to ask the families, the community members, and all of the men and women in green today to join us up here for a photo. And we have something to give to both of the families.
Thank you, Commissioner McKinley. All right, so we have item 5C1 before us. It's been moved by Commissioner McKinley. It's been seconded by Commissioner Kerner. Seeing no further discussions, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? That is approved unanimously, 7-0. Thank you. We are going to take a 5-minute recess so that we can take a few photos up here.
McKinley's office for working and putting all of this together for us. It was an incredible amount of work to get everybody here, and we appreciate their efforts. Oh, and thank you to David Ricks and our engineering team for putting together the highway signs that we presented to the families today. Thank you very much. Okay. Take a little recess there.
We're expecting a lot of conversation about our last item on the agenda, 5D1, which will be the PACE program. We have a number of cards here. We're also going to be recessing until 2 o'clock today and coming back for matters by the public. So we are now going to resume our regular agenda. We have our everybody back here. We're on 5C2, and this is going to be a report on the federal legislative agenda, and I think also we're going to have a little conversation on the just ended legislative session in Tallahassee. So, Mr. Von Laren, would you please do the honors?
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, and that's correct. And just to make sure that you have the appropriate PowerPoint, we made some revisions last night to include a section at the end on the vetoes that the mayor discussed as an add-on. So just if you look at the back couple of pages, you'll see that, and that would be the right version of the PowerPoint this morning. So thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Our legislative team is here with you today to provide some updates on our federal efforts to propose to you a federal legislative agenda that includes some revisions that we'll go over in a brief PowerPoint presentation. First, I just wanted to introduce our team that's up here. Scott from the County Attorney's Office, Ed from Intergovernmental Affairs, Deborah from PalmTran. And without further ado, we'll go through some of our highlights that we wanted to share with you in this year's federal legislative agenda. Deborah?
Good morning. Starting with transportation, the jet availability at Lantana Airport, we continue to oppose the FAA attempts to revoke grant funding opportunities to the county airport. The city of Atlantis has joined forces with Palm Beach County in their petition opposing offering jet availability at the Lantana Airport. Commissioner Kerner, we know that you have worked tirelessly on this, and we continue to closely monitor these effects and what is happening with the FAA and the jet availability. Farm-to-market road repairs. The funding, this is to work resources to rural communities to assist in repairing these roads as effectively as possible. We know how important agriculture products are, so we want to make sure that we're moving them safely and quickly from farm to consumer. We did have a budget language request, and Commissioner McKinley was very helpful with us in getting this into Representative Congresswoman Sheila Shifless McCormick, and this will direct the DOT, Department of Transportation, to consider farm-to-market roads as an eligible project within the F-23 Surface Transportation Block Grant Program. So the bipartisan infrastructure law, with the support of our federal contract lobbyists, we continue to search for and distribute any and all information related to the infrastructure funding availability. So we're seeking to coordinate grant applications efforts on those parts.
And to that end, I know that there's been a lot of conversation amongst the board, administration, different departments on those grant efforts. I can tell you that our Intergovernmental Affairs Office and our federal team have been working on some of those coordinated efforts with grant applications, getting support letters drafted to those, and we are continuing to work with the administrator on that program to ensure that we have opportunity to get some of those grant dollars down to Palm Beach County. Deborah?
Moving to road construction, rails, and traffic engineering, PalmTran has increased appropriations funding with the support of the county in funding levels for grants for Section 5339 bus and bus facility grants. These resources are available for replacing and rehabbing purchasing buses and bus-related equipment. PalmTran was able to secure for FY22 $1.93 million. For Section 5310 Senior and Disabled Grants. This grant provides transportation for seniors, the disabled, and individuals that are transportation disadvantaged. This will overhaul the overall Palm Transit fleet, and PalmTran received about $1.99 million under Section 5310. For Section 5311, the rural grant funds, this funding is to assist providing service to Palm Beach County residents in the Glades. As you were familiar, we have the Go Glades bus service, which is the on-demand rides for door-to-door service in the Glades, which have been very instrumental in getting residents around the Glades from door to door. If we look at the future funding efforts that we're have for Palm Beach County, Palm Tran Connections Efficiency Initiative, we also looking at Transit Worker Pedestrians Protection Act, which is the bus operator protection. And we know that this has been one of your top priorities, Mayor Weinroth, and we are looking at bus shelter expansion, which will replace about 150 to 330 existing shelters and 250 additional shelters for a total of about 580 shelters.
Good morning, Commissioners. On some water resources development projects, we continue to support funding for projects for habitat restoration in the Lake Worth Lagoon and in Lake Okeechobee. When the House released their Water Resources Development Act, the WRDA bill, just a few months ago, it did have $100 million specifically for wastewater infrastructure and stormwater management for Lake Worth Lagoon, Indian River Lagoon, and the St. Lucie River. So we were very thankful that is in there. We also continue to look for any opportunities to seek grant funding or matching funds for the Green K Phase 2 project. For coral reef restoration, the vehicle that we are focusing on is the Restoring Resilient Reefs Act. The House passed that act as part of the America Competes bill earlier this year. The House and Senate are currently in conference to work those out, and we are working to ensure that elements of the RRRA are part of the final package. Our SERP program, Lake Okeechobee, we are pleased that the Corps reinitiated efforts to advance the Lake Okeechobee Watershed Restoration Project earlier this year by releasing an integrated project implementation report and an EIS back in February. So the Corps is looking to finalize the project design and publish a chief's report later that year. That will enable them to go forward and try to get to this in the WRDA bill. Just a note on Lake Okeechobee Watershed, there was a line item that we will talk about in a few minutes that was vetoed in the state budget for $350 million, and we'll get to that in just a moment or two at the end of this presentation. We continue to work on Loxahatchee River Watershed Restoration Plan, and we thank Commissioner Marino for her leadership on the Loxahatchee River Coordinating Council. For the South Florida Regional Climate Change Compact, good news there is, although we do support all tenets of the compact's federal agenda, but language for new Central and South Florida comprehensive study was included in the May version of the House WRDA bill. So we will again work to make sure that that is included through the Senate version.
In the area of public safety, we are laser focused on some of the hurricane relief support, particularly on the FEMA reimbursement for Category B. This allows us to get 100% of funding for the first 30 days of a storm. We saw some shifts from FEMA with Hurricane Michael to 5 days, and so we're working to make sure we maintain that 30 days at 100%. Made a couple of tweaks to the FEMA coastal maps language as we continue to petition FEMA and the federal government on the inclusion of certain areas into those maps and certain properties. Also, we're going to continue to work on the Federal Catastrophic Insurance Fund. As we see disasters across the country, we realize the importance of having that collective effort. And then our Glades Region flood insurance rate maps as we continue to see the improvements of the Herbert Hoover Dike, working to ensure that the residents of the Glades and the property owners benefit from that in their insurance rates. On the area of economic development and finance, we also will continue to work on our Opportunity Zone designations to get some additional assistance for Riviera Beach and Belle Glade with those where they were left out years ago. Our CDBG, Community Development Block Grant funds, which are certainly important to so many communities in Palm Beach County, our New Market Tax Credit Grant, and also our Brownfield redevelopment are a few of those areas that we'll continue to pursue. Ed?
In the area of housing, first of all, farm worker and migrant housing, as Commissioner McKinley has helped us realize, the farm worker housing stock across the country is aging and is in many circumstances substandard. Florida has a large number of these affected housing units. So we have made programmatic requests to increase funding in the USDA Farm Labor Housing Loan and Grant Program up to $25 million, and also a request to increase funding through the Labor's Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act National Farm Worker Jobs Program to $15 million. And again, I'd like to thank the office of Congresswoman McCormick for helping with those. We will also support the Neighborhood Homes Investment Act. That would create a new federal tax credit to generate investments in housing in eligible census tracts. Palm Beach County has a number of these eligible census tracts, both in the eastern and western parts of the county. We continue to look to solve an ongoing issue with income limits and rural definition with regard to the USDA and HUD. With regard to HUD, we will try to work with them to develop guidelines that will allow us to separate some of our Glades communities from the rest of the county in order to get some help in those areas. With regard to the definition of rural, when we are looking for assistance from the USDA, we are stopped in our tracks because when we try to help the Glades, they are included in our definition of the metropolitan statistical area. That's an issue that has been ongoing for decades and something that we will try and continue to try to find a solution for. And again, Commissioner McKinley, thank you for your help in those areas. On housing costs, Commissioner Bernard, as suggested, we will follow President Biden's Housing Supply Action Plan, which is aiming to ease the burden, the cost burden of housing over time. As additional details on that housing plan come out, we will look for any opportunities to access any available funding. And again, as we go forward with any federal program, we will focus on renters who are struggling with high rental costs, with a particular focus on preserving rental housing for low and moderate income families. Some issues on housing, health, and human services. Thank you to the Office of Equal Opportunity for suggesting some programmatic increases to 3 programs, the Fair Housing Initiative Program, the Fair Housing Assistance Program, and the Office of Fair Housing Equal Opportunity. These 3 programs will sort of help help enforcement and fair housing services while looking out for prohibiting housing discrimination. For the Community Services Block Grant, we are supportive of HR 5129, which would reauthorize the Community Service Block Grant Program through fiscal year 2031. On veterans homelessness, we will support anything we can find, but particularly HR 1257, which would require the Department of Veterans Affairs to conduct a comprehensive study on access to and effects of financial and credit counseling for homeless veterans and veterans experiencing housing instability. And Commissioner Sachs, I know that is a priority of yours, and we will continue to work on that. On family caregiving, we again are looking for any opportunities to award grants that would support family caregivers. More on health and human services. The mental health parity, mental health services funding, again, we will continue to look for any funds or development of evidence-based community care to protect those health benefits and parity protections. With particular looking at the Mental Health Parity and Substance Use Disorder Act. That bill has been filed to expand the federal 2008 Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act, both in the House and Senate. We will work to get that completed. The Fair Chance Improvement Act, that would require the federal government and also federal contractors to remove the conviction history question from job applicants and defer any background checks to the end of the hiring process. The veterans and pension poacher, this is an issue of unsavory characters who go to veterans and families trying to encourage them to apply for benefits that they may or may not be eligible for, and then taking back some of those funds for themselves. The Department of Veterans Affairs back in April started a new program to help veterans try to locate that. That is something that we would support, not just for veterans, but for all pensions received. SNAP, we would continue to look for any flexibility and accessibility to the most appropriate food choices for each family. The SNAP program is part of the Farm Bill. This Farm Bill that is in place right now dates back to 2018. It does expire on September 30th of 2023. It is an omnibus multi-year program that covers a lot. It is the food programs, it is loan financing for water and wastewater, it's community facilities, it's housing, it's business development in rural communities. When it passed in 2018, it was $428 billion over a series of years. The largest chunk of that, 76% of the Farm Bill, is nutrition. The House and the Senate have already begun committee hearings on this issue. And we will look to ensure that that program is reauthorized prior to September 30th, 2023. Sober Homes, we support any clarifications to the Fair Housing Amendments Act. And we just want to make sure that we protect the health, safety, and welfare of both the residents of the sober homes and the surrounding areas where the homes are located. On opioid and substance abuse disorder, we are looking for full funding and reauthorization of the Cures Act. The Senate has not had any movement on that reauthorization. It has passed the House, and then the House version has it extended through 2027. On temporary protected status, for the nations of El Salvador, Haiti, Nicaragua, Sudan, Honduras, and Nepal, they have been extended through December 31st of 2022. We will continue to monitor and request for the continuation of TP status for those living in Florida who have been displaced due to economic instability or natural disasters in their home countries.
And we thank you, Commissioner Bernard, for your effort on TPS and working with us to shed light on many of our residents here in Palm Beach County and South Florida. In the area of education, to wrap up our agenda, we are continuing to support full funding for our Institute for Museum and Library Services. And then finally wanted to share a new issue that we've included in there on broadband access and affordability. Vice Mayor Weiss recently represented us at the White House for the signing of an important issue regarding an agreement for affordable connectivity programs that we're going to be able to take advantage of in our community. We have included this broadband equity access and deployment program in our legislative agenda, really to make sure that we can work to get the word out in our community to our residents so they're aware of this opportunity, and we are going to make sure that that stays on the forefront of our agenda. We were asked to provide a couple of comments to you about some of our state issues regarding vetoes in this year's budget, and we prepared a few additional slides for you to share how Palm Beach County and a couple of statewide issues fared in the budget. Ed?
When the governor announced his vetoes on Thursday, there were nearly 450 line items that were vetoed, totaling $3.1 billion. Some larger statewide issues that were vetoed was the $1 billion inflation fund, $850 million in new prison construction. That was a 4,500-bed facility, as well as a 250-bed hospital facility. $350 million in Everglades restoration was vetoed. That is specifically Lake Okeechobee watershed restoration dollars. In speaking with the district, they were obviously aware of that. The money that was put in the budget this year was far and above what they asked for. They state that they are remaining on track and on schedule with their projects. And on July 1st of this year, the district will have $200 million in appropriations available for use for the Lake Okeechobee for restoration. So they were in consult, the governor was in consult with the district before that happened. A couple of other items to note. The University of South Florida had a large environmental sciences facility at $75 million. That was a pet project of the Speaker of the House. The DCA courthouse construction, that was one new DCA courthouse in Lakeland and a redo in Pinellas to the tune of $65 million. The Moffitt Cancer Center had 4 projects vetoed, totaling almost $50 million. That was clearly a priority of the Senate president, as was the Pasco Sports Training Complex that had an association as a possible spring training location of the Tampa Bay Rays. And $20 million in aircraft acquisition. Those would have been 2 new jets for the use of the governor, cabinet members, and certain members of the House and Senate. I put school recognition funding. That was not a veto, but the governor did direct a letter to the State Department of Education directing them that the intent of the budget to withhold school recognition fund money from those 12 school districts that had mask mandates this past fall would be basically wiped off the books, and all counties statewide would now be eligible for funding. So a few items that were vetoed in Palm Beach County, our Homeless Resource Center 2 request for $250,000, our Chain of Wakes Blueway Trail Access Project, $250 million. Those were the only $250,000. Thank you, Todd. Those were the only 2 county requests that were vetoed. Other projects that were vetoed in Palm Beach County: Palm Beach Atlantic University's Business School for $5 million. You see a dozen or so municipal programs. Palm Beach County Oral History Project, and the Rails Rides Senior Transportation Program. Overall, countywide, we had 23 items vetoed for a total of $13 million. Commissioner Marino asked me this morning if the vetoes were pretty level throughout the counties in the state, and they were pretty level in the counties throughout the state, except for maybe the 2 or 3 large items in the Tampa Bay area that we talked about. So most importantly to us, some items that remain funded, Palm Beach County budget items: the Restore Reentry Program, the Butterfly House Rape Crisis Center, Everglades Workforce Training for the 2nd year in a row. Commissioner McKinley, thank you for your work on that as well. We have 1 project that was funded to the Lake Worth Lagoon, and that will stay in there, Commissioner Weiss. There were 4 projects remaining from the Loxahatchee River Preservation Initiative. There was 1 project that was vetoed, but that was in Martin County. It was not in Palm Beach County, so those projects in Palm Beach County stay the same. We thank Commissioner Marino for helping us with those. The $100 million item, Commissioner Kerner, for the UF Global Center and Technology and Innovation is there. The C-51, $65 million. We were very relieved that the Palm Beach State College medical and dental money was still there, no more than Mr. Bonlaren, and $10 million for the Cox Science Center. Our beach and inlets projects stay on the books, as our full Palm Beach County cultural and museum grants. And just a couple of items of note: the West Tech Education Center funding stays in there, as does the Boca Raton Rehabilitation Center, Commissioner Weinroth.
Yeah, that dental building makes me smile. So, and Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for indulgence. That concludes our presentation to you this morning.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Bonlaren. Thank you, Ed. We have several questions here, so let's start with Commissioner Sachs.
I don't have a question. I just want to thank you. Your lobbying team did an amazing job. I'm looking at these numbers, and really impressive of how you brought the bacon home. That's what it's all about. I appreciate all the hard work it was to get these numbers not just passed, but pass the veto pen. Thank you very much. Did a job well done.
Thank you, Commissioner Sachs. Commissioner McKinley.
Yeah, thank you. I'm still shocked that so much in District 6 stayed in, so thank you very much for that. Back to the federal agenda, Ed, I want to thank you for bringing up the Farm Bill reauthorization under the SNAP benefits portion. And when I did my agenda review yesterday, I'd asked Todd if we could include a separate item that encompasses all of the other programs under the Farm Bill in our agenda, and I was supposed to write that for him, and I promptly fell asleep when I got home last night. As soon as I sat on the couch and it started to rain, I don't know, it was just a good environment to sleep. But one of the priorities of the National Association of Counties is always that Farm Bill, particularly the young farmer and ranchers, the conservation programs, and the rural development. and making sure that we maintain that undersecretary for rural development as well. So if it's okay with the board to give you direction to include that, and I'd be happy to help you write it.
Great, thank you.
Vice Weiss?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation and all the updates. Couple things. On the bipartisan infrastructure bill and the opportunities for septic to sewer, I know, you know, in discussions in some of the committees I serve on with NACO and if I get this right, the funding opportunities at FOMOs, is that what they call, that are coming out now, and if there's some, keep an eye on that. I know a lot of this is going to be directed through the state, and we'll have to be working through that process. And then, in relation to, I know there's cybersecurity money also that is being made available, and I know Archie has been watching for that, but also just put it on the radar for our lobbyists and so forth to make sure that, again, this is, my understanding is this will be coming through the state, and then the local technology planning teams that we implemented in a number of most counties across the state are either have done it or in process, and I know the Office of Broadband is going to be utilizing that information for helping direct as the funding comes down from Washington and it makes its way to the state, that how that gets redistributed to us. So our final report was accepted by them, and and then lastly, and I appreciate you including in helping to, or at least looking for opportunities, how do we get the word out on the Affordable Connectivity Program and the benefits that would supply our community, as well as helping hopefully relieve some of the needs for people sometimes to leave their home to obtain services, whether it be medical, you know, or shopping, or so many other things that they would be able to take care of online, and maybe reallocate money that, you know, was having to fund to people, you know, using Palm-Tarrant Connections or something like that, can help them migrate and do some of those things from home. So, thanks.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Kerner?
Thank you, Mayor. Obviously delighted to see the $100 million for the UF campus and $25 million for the Palm Beach State College building, particularly given some of the appropriation vetoes related to higher education throughout the state. But my question pertains to the first slide. There was a slide that said that we're fighting attempts to revoke grant fund opportunities for county airports, which certainly I appreciate, and I know Commissioner Weiss has been working very diligently on the Lantana Airport issue. But are there actual attempts that have already occurred to stop funding where Palm Beach County was targeted, or something to that effect that I'm not aware of?
Yeah, so
as a result of the lawsuit, I mean.
Yeah, thank you. At the moment, we are not experiencing that right now, but I think we've asked our team just to be mindful as some of those conversations are continuing up there, that you know, we don't have any of those particular funding impacts to any of our other county airports. But I think at the current time, we're in good shape. So that's more of a monitor issue that we have included in our federal agenda.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Okay, I believe that's all the comments we have on the legislative agenda. Thank you so much again, repeating what everybody up here has said. We appreciate your lobbying on behalf of the county, and certainly it's been a productive year.
Thank you, Mayor. And if we could just get a motion to adopt the
I guess we can give
federal
you that.
legislative
Do I
agenda.
have a motion from anybody to okay, Commissioner McKinley, seconded by Commissioner Kerner. All in favor, all opposed. Show that as being approved unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, we are ready to move on to the main event. All right, it's time to talk about PACE. And on the agenda, it says staff recommends a motion to approve on preliminary reading and advertise for public hearing on July 12th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. But I have a feeling we're going to have a little more conversation than just putting this up for a preliminary reading. So, Mr. Rudder, you have our attention.
Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners. Yes, we are here with you for permission to advertise on your PACE ordinance following direction from our most recent workshop with you in the fall. Have since that point held a number of meetings with industry representatives, internal meetings with some of our other elected officials, and internal workings ourselves. So the Megan will go through a lot more detail, but just the higher points of it, 3 points to make. Addresses consumer protection standards, the changes we're proposing. Doing our very best to streamline the administrative process, and then establishing an administrative fee for the work the Office of Resilience does in enforcing it. So I will ask Megan to begin the presentation, and we'll be available for any questions afterwards.
Good morning. Thank you all for having me today. Megan Houston, Resilience Director for Palm Beach County. We'll just provide the briefest of overview of what PACE is, since this board was here in September when we last had our full workshop. It helps property owners pay for, in Palm Beach County, for energy efficiency, renewable energy, and wind mitigation projects without any upfront costs besides fees through a property assessment. The assessment can cause an owner to lose their property by failing to pay, but to our knowledge, that has not happened in Palm Beach County yet. Because of that, though, the board has asked us to look pretty closely at consumer protection since the inception of the program, which was back in 2017. So this is this is relatively new. Third parties defined by statute as local governments, and their program administrators run the program. The Office of Resilience helps enforce the ordinance to ensure that the PACE industry and that everything related in that ordinance is complying with that ordinance. So we have been working on looking at the program, seeing how we can improve program administrative efficiency, consumer protections, and other aspects of PACE. The board brought this up back in 2019 when the board was asking questions about consumer protection. You know, we kind of lived with it for a couple of years by that point. We wanted to see how it was working. We then came back and reported on the PACE projects. We've had 2 workshops since then. There was always kind of a wait and see approach too with what was happening at the state. We were wondering if the legislation was if there was legislation that would be passed that would address some consumer protection concerns. None has passed since then. So at that September 2021 workshop, the board directed staff to see if we could separate out residential and non-residential. Currently, there's no distinction between those two in the ordinance. The board asked us to look at how we could streamline reporting and avoid duplicative efforts. We've been asked to look at increasing consumer protection as what kind of options that would be. And then as Mr. Rudder mentioned, we've also discussed an administrative fee to offset the cost. And then one final board direction was to explore whether we could cap interest rates and what kind of legal protections are already in existence for our consumers. We have done a lot since September 2021. We have worked with our county attorney, the tax collector's office, the PACE districts, and their providers. We've worked extensively to collaborate and find areas of agreement, areas where we're all asking for input on every item. We've had 4 separate meetings, at least, with industry to review potential ordinance changes, and then I think pretty constant contact with the tax collector's office as well since back in September. So today we'll look at these in buckets. You know, we've had categories of consumer protection, streamlining, separating out the residential and non-residential, and then the fee. I won't spend too much time on this slide because we'll get into detail on where we agree and disagree later on. in the slides, but overall consumer protection, we're looking at better defining fair market value and making that consistent throughout. We've looked at expanding consumer disclosure requirements on the information that we get, clarifying on the 3-day right to cancel, looking at how we can get better information, and we've also proposed an ability to pay provision for residential projects, and then some areas with the consumer disclosure notices, as well as looking at our marketing and communications statements, because we tend to see a lot of flyers that could have potentially misleading use of county logo, unauthorized use of county logo. And we've also looked at expanding contractor management requirements. On the streamlining side, we're looking at how we can, we've looked at our business protocol just on how we cooperate and coordinate with our tax collector's office. We've unified our both of us have consumer disclosure notices, so we've unified them so people aren't having to do two different things. We've looked at we've worked with our PZ&B colleagues to better streamline how we handle contractor complaints. And then a lot of stuff in the proposed ordinance about how we can get parcel numbers and standardize our energy assumptions, so we're not looking at different data. We can compare apples to apples across these quarterly reports that we get from our providers. So all of that we feel would be good changes to the ordinance that could help us just have better efficiency in handling the projects. We also are looking at a fee. This is a modest fee that we're recommending to help offset the costs of administering the program on behalf of Palm Beach County. We respond to consumer inquiries. When people get flyers on their windshield, they call us sometimes, what is this? Is this a real program? They call us as a trusted resource. Palm Beach County's Office of Resilience PACE FAQ website is consistently one of the most visited web pages that the Resilience Office has. So people are looking to us to be that kind of gatekeeper of information about the financial products out there. We also get we conduct audits of the program each year to make sure that the deals that we're looking are representing the best intentions of the ordinance. And when we see areas that could be improved, we we correspond with our providers to ask for more information or just change protocol sometimes. I mentioned the flyers. We do see maybe some of the more consistent things are the unauthorized use of the county logo, which is not a PACE provider or district issue. It's usually a contractor issue. So that comes to us sometimes, and we refer and move on those. We also, our Consumer Affairs Division in Public Safety and PZ&B also handle consumer complaints and contractor issues. So it extends beyond what the Office of Resilience deals with. So we'll spend most of the time talking about what we're proposing. We met with industry and the tax collector, and on May 25th, we had this meeting. We looked at slides and tried to confirm, we confirmed where the parties agreed. So based on that conversation, things like reasonable request for data within 60 days, that's fine with us. Using the quarterly reporting within 30 days. After the close of quarter, we're trying to put a deadline so we get that information at a consistent time. Separating out residential and non-residential, everyone agreed made sense. Having a reputable third party provide the definition of useful life for equipment, as long as we define what reputable means. Requiring disclosure of assumptions for energy savings and that methodology. We want to see how things are being calculated so that we can confirm and vet that. And then we added local into the sentence of, adding that PACE industry privacy policies comply with local. Continuing here, we've added a section that residential projects, we'd like to be able to include Palm Beach County programs beyond PACE that might be useful for that homeowner. We've recommended allowing for a prepayment penalty for non-residential PACE projects. This is more of a business standard in the non-residential side. We've split out the non-residential with a $250,000 project threshold where those under would have to comply with consumer disclosure notices. Those over would still have to comply with the requirements but not have to submit that disclosure. We've provided for 60 days to cure and then 30 days until suspension. We've updated our definitions a little bit more. We've prohibited the PACE folks from disclosing the maximum amount a property owner is eligible for to the contractor to ensure that we're getting, to add another layer of fair pricing. And then we've expanded marketing and communication logos to, communication provisions to explicitly saying it's not, saying a Palm Beach County government program is not okay. And then some minor grammar inconsistencies. We'll now shift into where we found areas of disagreement where we and the providers and the tax collector's office might not necessarily agree on all of these things. So we mentioned fair market value earlier. We've proposed one option, and the reason defining this is important is because we have thresholds here. Some are by statute, which uses just value as determined by the property appraiser, so we're not allowed to touch that. But we have other thresholds with debt and financing to have consumer protection in place, and we're proposing an ability to pay provision that also has a threshold. So we want to make it clear and concise. We proposed having all these different options in that language there. This was based off of what Broward County has done. Tax collector recommended just keeping it as just market value, keep it clean, keep it concise. The property appraiser's office also recommends that, and upon further discussion in the last week or so, that makes sense to us too. The PACE providers would like flexibility there and be able to use methods that they deem are worthy. So there's discrepancy there, and all these things we do need board direction when we'll summarize at the end. Another area where we don't quite agree yet is on ability to pay requirements. So this is based off of what Broward County has put into place a few years ago, and they've said it worked great without issue. So property owners who make more than 120% of area median income, they have a few options for how they could comply. They could, there's a 4% annual gross income cap, or they could get mortgage consent, or they could show that the savings from the insurance and energy savings would justify the assessment. For those making less than or equal to that amount, which is I think about $100,000 for a household of 4, just for reference, there's a 4% income cap so that the annual assessment payment cannot exceed that amount. So some PACE providers disagree with this particular method. They recommend a 10% income threshold there. And that, of course, this is one area where we'll need your direction. For the 3-day right to cancel, currently we have a 3-day right to cancel in the ordinance. So somebody can get out of their PACE financing agreement within that period. There's also a contractor cooling off period, and we'd like those to align so that the work cannot begin before that PACE financing agreement 3-day right to cancel expires. We think it's important to align that so somebody getting their work done isn't left without any viable payment options. So we would propose an emergency waiver there if it's something like an air conditioning unit breaking in the middle of summer, something like that, your roof has a hole in it, those would be waived. And then we've heard some board feedback on that, asking the property owner to verify and confirm that waiver would also be important. The PACE providers, we've heard that some of them disagree that this would be unnecessary, especially for non-residential. With contractor management, we've added additional contractor provisions to try and be proactive with our contractors. One of the provisions is about asking the PACE providers to do more, investigating their contractors, doing more vetting, keeping those logs, and making sure that the contractors check out. We've also asked them to get the contractors' written agreement that they'll comply with PACE program requirements and act in good faith to resolve issues. I think we've heard feedback from the providers that this is unnecessary or putting a burden on them that they can't necessarily control, or that it expands too much oversight for staff. Regarding the consumer disclosure notice, that's what the CDN acronym means. We've asked the providers to use a Palm Beach County supplied template so that we're getting consistent data. It's easier to compare that way. We want them to offer or actually provide the property owners a hard copy of that CDN within that 3-day right to cancel. We've talked about the iPad signing, and yes, we are, advocates of technology. Sometimes it's still a little hard for our certain population to figure out where that email was and track it down. So we'd like to propose at least offering, or even just require that hard copy of that one sheet page that shows they have that right to cancel. And we'd like that consumer disclosure notice electronically sent to the tax collector and the Office of Resilience within 5 business days. That would help us track these projects. And we've heard opposition on providing the tax collector with additional information. And hard copies, I should say. Finally, on not finally, but on this fee section, we've discussed proposing $25 per project. That would be a one-time fee for every project that is financed in that year. We think that would offset the substantial staff time involved in enforcing and maintaining this ordinance. We would recommend a higher fee for bringing on a new provider, bringing on a new district, because that's a substantial amount of work of creating the legal documents and bringing forth those items to have that occur. The industry, I think, maybe uniformly opposes any fees here. And then for a disclosure, we've asked for our consumer disclosure notice to convey additional information that explains what the tax collector's office is able to do. We believe this is quoting or referring pretty explicitly with what the statute already says, which says that the tax collector, if they discover errors or omissions on a roll, they can request a corrected roll. So we've heard feedback that this could be confusing to the property owners. So the next section are areas where we have not made any ordinance changes that we're recommending yet. We would need further direction from the board on how to proceed here. One question we've been asked by the non-residential industry is whether we could allow variable interest rates for non-residential. We're neutral on this. I don't believe the statute mentions fixed or variable. Currently, our ordinance says only fixed interest rates, so we would need the board direction on whether you would like us to change that. Regarding interest rates, right now, we have not proposed anything in the ordinance strike-through version that would be capping interest rates on residential projects. The board has asked us to look into whether that's possible. Currently, usury laws say something like it says 18% is the cap, unless it's a more substantial project, and then that changes a little bit. But right now, basic project has an 18% interest rate cap. So we could have additional language that that further limits the interest rates available to charge. I think current interest rates right now are between 4 and 8%. That's not the effective rate, but that's the basic interest rate. So we would need board direction to propose any kind of limits there. The PACE industry thinks that free market should govern here. For the next area, we've talked about having a bankruptcy provision. Right now, it's industry standard based off of PACE Nation to not provide PACE financing to anyone currently in bankruptcy. We could easily add that into our ordinance just so it's confirmed and standardized if the board would like to align with that. And then on the 3-day right to cancel, I've mentioned that we were trying to align that with contractor 3-day right to cancel, or that construction couldn't begin before that right expires. The non-residential industry would like to eliminate this completely from non-residential projects, saying that these are sophisticated parties coming to the table and that adding an additional 3 days would be unduly burdensome. So here, staff is neutral and would like the board direction on that. So we have a lovely table at the end. Hopefully you have your larger copy in front of you where you can see. And we'd love your direction now on this chart. This is summarizing where we are with the areas that we believe are still in disagreement. If you would like to go back and discuss any of the areas where the industry, tax collector, and the staff are in agreement, we're happy to do that here as well. But for right now, this chart is only the ones where we are not reaching a consensus. So I will say thank you, and I'm sure there will be many questions.
Thank you, Megan. My initial reaction is I don't think this is ready for prime time yet. I think that we have a little bit of work to do, and I'm not sure this is ready for advertising. But let's see where we go with this. I see the Honorable Ann Gannon has joined us, and I'm going to ask you if you would like to give your input at this point. I know that you've been having a great deal of conversation on this, and you're certainly very involved in this process, and I'd be pleased to hear your input at this point.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to Good afternoon. I would actually like to ask my staff who deals with this project on a daily basis, that has intimate knowledge of it, to make comments. Steve Weiss is my director who is responsible for this project, so if that is all right with you, I would like to ask him.
We'll take a few minutes and allow him to make a presentation on behalf of the tax collector.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Weinroth, Commissioners, and Administrator Baker. My name's Steve Weiss. I'm the Chief Excellence Officer with the Palm Beach County Tax Collector's
Just give that
Office.
microphone a tug towards you.
Sure. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Steve Weiss, and I'm the Chief Excellence Officer with the Palm Beach County Tax Collector's Office. And on behalf of the Tax Collector's Office, I'd like to thank you all for looking at ways to strengthen and improve the PACE ordinance. We feel like this is important in order to protect Palm Beach County homeowners from some of the issues that are not addressed by the ordinance in its current form. I'd also like to thank Patrick, Megan, and Natalie from the Office of Resilience, as well as Ryan from the County Attorney's Office, for all of the hard work that they've put into drafting what we feel like is improved language for the ordinance. I would like to talk about the definition of the fair market value. We feel like the draft definition in the ordinance raises some issues. First of all, because there is a subjective element to property appraisal, Having multiple appraisal choices or sources to choose from could lead to lenders cherry picking the highest value. And this could result in a homeowner that has a mortgage and a PACE assessment on their property owing more on their home than its true market value. In 2006, we all witnessed the economic pain and destruction that can result when people owe more on their homes than they're worth, when government failed to properly regulate real estate lending. Secondly, realtors are not property appraisers. Therefore, an estimate of value from a realtor is not a sound basis for determining fair market value. We feel strongly that it's in the public's best interest that the fair market value be determined by an entity that is an expert in property appraisal, is not influenced by lenders, is conservative in its valuations, and whose valuations are transparent and easily accessible to all interested parties. Therefore, we would recommend that the definition of fair market value be the just value as determined by the property appraiser's office. The just value is an unbiased, easily accessible, and accurate value. And it would make it less likely that a homeowner would take on an unaffordable amount of PACE debt than the other options listed in the draft language. Furthermore, as Megan pointed out in her presentation, state statute and county ordinance already state that the just value, as determined by the county's property appraiser's office, will be used to determine the amount of assessment allowed without mortgage lender's consent. So why then would we use a different definition of fair market value for other parts of the ordinance? We do recognize that just value represents 85% of the market price of property. We would argue that this is an attribute because it provides a built-in protection to homeowners from being underwater on their home should there be a decline in housing prices. If, however, you feel like this presents an issue, then the easiest and best solution would be to define the fair market value as 115% of the just value as determined by the property appraiser's office. The other item that I'd like to speak to.
Mr. Weiss, could you hold on a second?
Sure.
Yes, the Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Steve. So if I'm looking at the property appraiser's appraisal, where do I see the just value?
That's what's listed on PAPA, the property appraiser's website. So when you look at your home's valuation and you look at the value there, that is the just value.
So you're redefining total market value to just value.
Those terms are used interchangeably, I guess, outside of their website.
Okay. All right, because I was just looking at their website and I couldn't find just value.
I'm referring to the total market value. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Before you continue, I'm just going to make an announcement that we have the 2 o'clock session today so that we can take a little break today. We're going to break at 1 o'clock. If we are continuing at that point with this subject, we'll then return to it after matters by the public. So just to let everybody know how to adjust your calendars accordingly. All right, let's continue.
Well, the other item that I'd like to speak to under the areas of disagreement is having the 3-day right to, or not allowing a contractor to begin construction work during the 3-day right to cancel. And the reason we feel like that is important is the 3-day right to cancel, I believe, in regarding a PACE assessment and any other type of financing agreement that has similar types of protections like a mortgage, a car loan, these type of things. I believe we're putting there to protect the consumer so that if they were in a situation, let's say, where a contractor sat down, I'll use a hypothetical, with an elderly person and was very pushy and forceful and intimidating and kind of coerced that person into agreeing to one of these PACE assessments. I think the 3-day right to cancel is there so that when that person's outside of that person's influence and has time to think of it on their own and realizes this was a very bad decision for me, they can get out of that agreement. If you allow construction to begin during that 3-day period, the risk to the consumer is that, let's say in that hypothetical example, you do have an unethical contractor that follows these strong-arm contracts or contract sales techniques. What's to prevent the contractor then, after the person signs on that day, to walk out and rip off half their roof, thereby forcing them almost to have to go through with the financing they agreed to, knowing full they would have no other way to fund now repairing and continuing to fix their roof. So, you know, we've had in fact a call to our office from a senior citizen alleging that same scenario happening. I don't know, in defense of the PACE industry, I don't know that that's factually accurate. It was just an allegation, but it certainly illustrates the potential for that type of abuse. So we think it would be wise to put in the ordinance language that would avoid those situations. Those are the 2 items that I wanted to give you input on today. I appreciate you taking them into consideration, allowing me to speak on the item. If you have any questions, I can answer them.
Very good. Anybody have any questions for the tax collector's office? No? Very good. All right, does staff have anything further they want to say, or should we go into public comment? All right, let's do public comment. Commissioner Kerner, would you do the honors?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our first speaker will be Arthur Hamilton from the Tax Collector's Office, followed by Steve Weiss, which we already heard from, so. Cool, very good. We're moving right along then. Aaron Deedy, in support of the ordinance, and then after Aaron will be Chris Peterson.
Aaron Dady, Aaron LJD PA. I'm here today on behalf of Petros, a commercial provider under the Florida Green Finance Authority and the Florida Resiliency and Energy District. We have a few remaining issues with the ordinance. One, prepayment penalties are routine in large-scale commercial transactions like this to manage risk. I've spoken to you, a couple of you about this issue before, so we would like to see that ability in CPACE transactions. The 3-day right to cancel, doing a lot of legal research on this, you will see 3-day right to cancels with routine, smaller commercial finance transactions like door-to-door sales, high-pressure sales. It's a cooling off period, essentially. And we don't think that that's necessary in commercial transactions that take many months to perfect. Many lawyers are involved. You sit down to the closing table, and introducing that additional period after you've taken several months to gin this type of project up introduces risk into that transaction. So it's just not typical for a financing transaction of that scale. There is a typo that I have discussed with Megan in the section related to the 3-day right to cancel. In that section, we'd like to see paragraphs J and K exempted from that. That's how you would execute that edit we're requesting on the 3-day right to cancel. The Florida Resiliency and Energy District would like to see variable interest rates only in CPACE transactions, given the shifting economy right now. Again, that's only for commercial transactions. And then finally, there is state law regarding taxable bond interest rates. Megan has mentioned the usury law, but under Chapter 159, taxable bonds have interest rate caps as well. So we think you're pretty protected from that issue with existing state law. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
All right, we'll have Chris Peterson, and then Alex Alamo. Mr. Peterson, are you a paid lobbyist?
I work for Fortify Financial, so
Fortify, all right.
I'm not a ad hoc lobbyist. Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Chris Peterson. I'm with the run government affairs for Fortify Financial, a PACE provider under the Florida PACE Funding Agency. Thank you for the opportunity to address you today. So the PACE industry has met with staff on multiple occasions, as you know, regarding the proposed ordinance. Unfortunately, there is a substantial divide between what is in front of you today and what is reasonable and even lawful. Furthermore, it is clear that the board direction to staff from the prior workshop has not been exactly followed. I'd like to address the proposed ability to pay standard It is important to state up front that the PACE industry is very much in support of the ability to pay requirements. We're running the legislation that ultimately failed, but we're trying to push the state in this direction. We do it, we self-regulate, we do ability to pay today, and we have proposed a model currently utilized by several counties here in Florida that's been successful. The Office of Resiliency model, as proposed, will set different thresholds for property owners based on their income as a percentage of the area median, which almost certainly violates the Federal Fair Housing Act when applied to residential properties. When a policy has a discriminatory effect, that is a disparate impact on different people, different groups of people protected by the FHA, even if it's a well-intentioned consumer protection, it is still a violation. And according to 2020 ACS data in Palm Beach County, the median black household earns on average just 69% of the median white household income. Hispanic households earn less than 77% of the income of non-Hispanic white households. So the proposed ordinance will have a discriminatory effect, having stricter requirements for BIPOC households and other marginalized groups, which violates the FHA and the county's own anti-discrimination policies. Although I believe the Office of Resiliency drafted the proposed ordinance in good faith effort to protect consumers, the result is problematic. It seems like it is a solution in search of a problem. The residential PACE industry would like to see the existing ordinance modified with the proposed changes that both industry and county staff have agreed upon, as outlined in the presentation by staff. There is a middle ground here that efficiently and effectively protects consumers without violating any laws. Furthermore, the county presentation regarding the areas of disagreement wasn't entirely accurate, specifically the 3-day right of rescission. We already do this. And in fact, you can cancel any time with no penalty. If you got a bonus in the middle of your project, you can say, I don't want to use PACE, I'm going to pay cash. There are 2 separate contracts here. One is between you and the contractor, and one is between us and the property owner. Okay, you can cancel ours anytime with no prepayment penalty whatsoever. Okay, so what we're really interested in is the ability to waive that 3-day measure if you have an emergency measure, right? If you need an AC unit in the middle of summer and you need it today, you don't need to wait 3 days for that necessarily. So that's our ask here. And for the record, we do not obtain fair market value from realtors. Although when I refinanced my own property recently, my mortgage lender did actually use a BPO, a broker price opinion. So it's kind of interesting. We actually use an AVM from different CoreLogic and whatnot. But I do encourage the board to postpone advertising until these issues can be resolved. And thank you again for your time.
Just a question for you. I'm a little puzzled by your statement that using the income of a PACE applicant somehow would become discriminatory. Doesn't any financing application use some ability to pay, whether you're black, white, or Latino?
Not when it comes to using the median income. I think that's where the issue lies. But I would actually prefer, if it pleases the board, to defer any specific questions about that to our counsel, Jamie Dinkins, who is here on behalf of the Florida PACE Funding Agency. He would be probably better equipped to get into more detail on that subject.
All right, I'll ask him to fill out a card and we'll have him come up. The second question I have for you is, again, on the 3-day cooling off period. You heard the remarks that were made before, the potential for a homeowner to have engaged a contractor, and during that 3-day period, the contractor taking advantage of the opportunity to begin work to then make it difficult for the consumer to extricate themselves from this relationship. Now, you're trying to separate both the contractor's agreement from the PACE agreement, but I don't see that those can be unattached. And so how are we going to protect a consumer once the contractor's now ripped off their roof and they say, you know what, this is something I can't manage?
So I would ask you, which part of the process can they not manage? Is it the payment?
Right now, the consumer says after having 3 days to consider their financial outlook, says, you know what, I should not have signed that. I have other bills that need to be paid. I need to cancel this contract. Calls the contractor, says, that's all well and good, but you know, you have half a roof upstairs.
Which contract are you referring to? The home improvement contract between them and the contractor, or the financing agreement? Because keep in mind, contractors have 5 different methods of payment that they'll offer
I understand,
to the homeowners.
but now this person has engaged a contractor with the promise that PACE would be the one that's going to help finance that relationship. So there's a coupling here. This is not just this is not like the consumer going to Wells Fargo or another bank and trying to finance a homeowner's loan. This is a situation where the two have been coupled together, both the engagement of a contractor and simultaneously engaging some PACE financial or institution to offer the financing for it. This is all being sold to them at the same time, and as they are thinking about it over that 72 hours, come to the conclusion this is not the right thing for them to do, and meanwhile now, the contractor has begun the work, and now if they say, you know what, I don't want to go forward with PACE, now all of a sudden they are in a situation where they have to do something of an emergency basis to restore their home to where it was prior to having this conversation. So again, 3-day cooling off period. I see it as a way to keep someone safe and allow them the 72 hours to think through what they have signed. You don't seem to think that that's important.
No, I actually disagree. What my comments were that we already have a 3-day right of rescission period, that we are not, your contractors are not allowed to start work. What we're asking is that if somebody has an emergency measure, that they are able to waive that at their discretion. That's the only issue. As of today, as a standard of practice, we have a 3-day right of rescission across the board. Every provider does that.
What would be the condition precedent that would allow the work to begin during the 72 hours?
By our request, it would be a health and safety issue. I do not have an AC unit. It broke. It is 100 degrees out, and we need to get our home cool again. And to wait 3 days to do that could put somebody in danger. That is the request from us. We don't want to do this across the board. We're not trying to fudge the 3-day. Most people, it's not an issue, and most of the time contractors are so busy they can't get out within that 3-day period anyway. So we enforce that 3-day period as of today. But if somebody has a health and safety issue, we'd like to have them have the option to say, I am making an informed decision. I have had my call, right? We do the call with every single applicant to go over the terms of the contract to say, yes, I understand this is going to be a lien on my property. I understand that I have to pay this off. I understand that this is my monthly annual payment, et cetera, right? And if
all this sounds good here
Yes,
when
sir.
we're talking about this theoretically, but if we have a predatory practice of a contractor engaging in a practice of quickly going in and saying, you have a problem up, let me start working right now, then we're putting him, or the consumer, in a situation where they really cannot avail themselves of the 72-hour rescission.
Understood. If they're using PACE, they're not going to be able to start within 3 days unless there's an emergency measure per our request. As of today, we do not allow work to start within the 3-day period. That's just the way that we work.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, next one.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Our next speaker will be the well-known and well-regarded Neil Schiller. Oh, sorry. Oh, man, I just punked you. Sorry about that.
You're well-known also.
Did I call you already? I apologize.
I was right behind Mr. Peterson.
All right, what's your name?
Alex Alamo with Wygreen.
I must have, okay, Alex Alamo. Neil, you're next.
Okay, good afternoon, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. Since the inception of the PACE program in Palm Beach County, Wygreen has financed 15,209 projects. Of those projects, we've received 258 complaints, representing a 2% complaint rate, an excellent customer satisfaction rate by any measure. Of the 258 complaints, 188, or roughly 72%, are related to contractors for workmanship or warranty-related issues. Nothing in the proposed ordinance update in front of you today aims to address these issues. We are thankful that the Office of Resilience has been so willing to meet with the industry on multiple occasions to collaborate and find common ground, but as you can see, there are multiple areas of concern. One such area is the proposed definition of fair market value. A fundamental component of any PACE program is establishing appropriate assessment to value and combined loan to value thresholds for PACE projects. The assessment to value ratio is already set by section 163.08, paragraph 12, subsection A of the Florida statutes, which cannot exceed 20% of the just value of the real property as determined by the county property appraiser. All program administrators and PACE programs must follow statutory requirements. Just value, as determined by the county property appraiser, is different than the true fair market value of the property if sold to a willing buyer on the open market. Thus, by including B, that the value determined by the Palm Beach County property appraiser in the definition of fair market value could create some serious definitional issues and muddy the very definition of fair market value itself. Further, PACE programs need flexibility in the sources of how fair market value is determined as new technologies, models, and vendors become available that improve accuracy and consistency in determined property values, which is a best practice consumer protection. Additionally, the tax collector's office suggestion for using 115% of the just value is extremely problematic. That requirement could lead to unintended consequences that would leave many property owners to be unnecessarily denied PACE financing before any consumer protection provision could determine their eligibility. The Office of Inspector General is currently reviewing the PACE program. I urge you to defer this item until the OIG's findings are released. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Schiller.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. Neil Schiller with the Government Law Group, located at 137 Northwest 1st Avenue here in Palm Beach County in Delray Beach, Florida. I'm here today representing Renew Financial. I'm actually pinch hitting for Jennifer Rojo Suarez, who is ill and did not want to infect this chamber. And so, Jenny, I know you're watching, feel better. I'm here to talk to you about the contractor portion of the ordinance and our concerns about it. As we talk about PACE today, I know you're weighing the potential benefits of these consumer protections against whether these protections may limit access to PACE funding. We as an industry strongly support consumer protections that promote the best financial interest of homeowners without limiting their financial options, as to some of the proposed amendments to the PACE ordinance today would do. As you know, this is just one tool in the property owner's toolbox, just one option with consumer protections that exceed regular financing. But PACE providers can't assume liability for third-party contractors or third parties in general. Contractors registered to discuss PACE financing as an option with a homeowner are not agents of those PACE providers. Contractors do go through a very rigorous enrollment procedure and vetting process by each of the providers. However, a number of contractors offer a number of different providers, PACE providers, just as they would bank loans or credit cards. Providers exercise a large degree of oversight with respect to those contractors that is unparalleled with traditional financing. Additionally, providers do provide oversight through project completion. Remember that the contractor, the provider, and the homeowner all have to agree that this project is complete for that contractor to be paid. If contractors don't continue to comply with their eligibility of the criteria for those particular PACE programs, they're booted from the program. Regarding providers maintaining contractor investigation reports for review by property owners in the county, which is what the ordinance is calling for, the industry would like to just provide whatever the licensing board is providing us as far as an investigation. It is not up to the PACE providers to do additional investigations on contractors. However, they do, if there are complaints, as you know, all of the PACE providers do provide some follow-up investigation. And then lastly, in terms of information that is given to the county or being sought by the county, we're happy to give as much information as possible, so long as it complies with the law. There are things like the Financial Privacy Act that prevent us from giving third parties any additional financial privacy information. So we would ask that that information be redacted or stricken from the ordinance, and we'll work it out with your staff to, again, provide information necessary, but so long as it doesn't violate the law. And with that, I know we're running late. I want to thank you so much for your attentiveness, your cooperation. It's great being back in the building. And we hope that you will postpone this so we can work it out.
Neil, before you run away, you mentioned that this is a tri-party relationship between the contractor, the financing PACE, and the homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that there wouldn't be no payment unless the homeowner is satisfied with the work. So what happens, practically speaking, if the homeowner either reasonably or unreasonably says, I'm not satisfied? Are they going to not pay the contractor? Is the homeowner now going to be on the hook for the contracted services? How is that going to work? What real consumer protection are we able to afford in that situation?
So my understanding is that if the consumer, if the property owner is not satisfied with the work, then the contractor does not get paid. And then the contractor works it out with the PACE provider to make that property owner happy. Either there's a discount given, additional work is done. My understanding since the inception of this program, that if a property owner is not happy with the work done, the PACE provider does not release the funds to the contractor.
All right, before Commissioner Kerner asks his question, are you satisfied with the formula that's being proposed by the property appraiser, or by, I'm sorry, by the tax collector's office, that we use just value or approximately an 85% number to be as conservative as possible and not cause the consumer to overextend themselves?
I think from an industry perspective, I don't think that we're 100% supportive of that, and would like to continue to discuss that with your staff and with the tax collector. Basically, as far as I remember from what our meetings were, that's where we are as far as Renew Financial is, and I think the industry is as well.
Thank you. Commissioner Kerner, you had a question?
Yes, Neil, are you familiar with mechanics lien?
Law school has been a while,
I
but
know.
yes.
It has been a while for all of us. So in this situation, let's say that the homeowner is, and voter is unhappy with the product, okay, or the improvements rather. We do know that a PACE funding provider will not pay that contractor for their services and labor and materials, but it seems like that's where it would stop, that it's a consumer protection for the PACE funding provider, because once PACE pulls out, the improvements are done, even though they're low quality and they don't meet their standard, then there's a lien on someone's home.
You're saying there could be, the contractor could place a lien on somebody's home via mechanics
For
lien.
sure, and ultimately, it would be a court of competent jurisdiction to decide whether that homeowner owes money to the contractor or not, but all that's really happening is PACE is just getting out of town.
Well, and I don't know that that's how it works. I've never been presented with a scenario like this, and I'll be happy to call my client and come back and answer the question for you. But my understanding is that the PACE contractor the PACE provider, in this case Renew, would work with the contractor and the homeowner to resolve all of the issues and move on. So
Well,
that
it's interesting because not you specifically, but the industry has communicated to us as the board that there is no relationship between the contractor and the PACE provider. There's not an agent relationship. There's no authority. We can't direct them what to do. But now all of a sudden, in the face of consumer protection discussion, you're saying that they actually come in and mediate and resolve and demand that these the improvements are made to the standard that should be met.
Well,
So which one is it?
Well, the PACE provider is holding the money for the contractor, right, for the contractor to get paid. The PACE provider, the PACE provider may or may not have an agreement with the individual contractor. Some may not. My understanding is that there is no agreement between the contractor and the PACE provider, that the PACE, I'm confusing myself. The PACE provider and the contractor. The contractor could work for 4 or 5 different PACE companies and offer that, right? So when you deal with a contractor, in this case, the PACE company doesn't necessarily have an oversight relationship with that contractor. They're there to work between the homeowner and the contractor to ensure everything is copacetic, that the work is done in a timely manner, that the work is done.
Is
in a
that
sufficient-
memorialized, are those duties memorialized as part of a contract or as part of a statute?
So again, the contractors have to meet all of the PACE providers' rigorous criteria. Some of those criteria may include a basic written agreement. I don't know what that agreement says or doesn't say. I haven't seen the agreement. But again, it's the PACE provider really certifies these contractors, verifies
Protect
them.
themselves, to protect the financing scheme that's going on here. And that is, if, not scheme in the bad sense, but the overall scheme of this lending program is if the consumer doesn't like the work, PACE is not going to fund the project. They're going to leave, absent this sort of, mediation process that doesn't exist on paper. And then the homeowner's left having to fight with this contractor over a job that's not well done, and then there's a lien on their home.
And I don't know that, if that scenario has occurred, I'm interested to learn about it. I don't know that scenario has occurred, but if you give me the opportunity, I'll get that information
Well,
from my
this
clients.
scenario that we're talking about is one that you and this industry has injected into the discourse and dialogue, which is when there's a problem, we're going to fix it. Yet there's been no evidence or presentation about when that process has actually helped a consumer in this county. I'm not aware of any circumstance where Y-Green or any other company acted as a mediator and resolved the quality and finish, the concerns of the quality and finish of the improvements. I'm not aware of it. I haven't seen any of that happen. So by law, as a matter of law, the only thing that's left to happen is that the financing leaves and then the consumer and contractor are stuck fighting it out with each other.
And respectfully, we don't necessarily know that there's been the opportunity to have, that there has been a PACE provider that has to come in and settle an issue between.
Do you think it's fair to assume that in a county of 1.5 million people, and I heard some wonderful statistic about how many Y-Green or PACE provided funding has occurred already, that there has not been a dispute between a contractor and a consumer? I think it happens every day.
It may happen every day, but you've seen the number of complaints that are de minimis based on the number of residents on the county and people using the program, number one. And number two, some of these things wouldn't necessarily get reported. So the fact of the matter is, does the PACE, do PACE providers have a level of control over contractors? I would answer no. They don't have a level of control over the contractors. They shouldn't be penalized for those contractors. If there's an investigation into one of those contractors, these PACE providers shouldn't be the ones forced to be investigating those contractors. We could easily find out. First off, there's a whole sense of, there's a whole ability for consumers to go after contractors in several different scenarios, including DBPR licensing, Consumer Protection Board of this county, Attorney General for the state of Florida. So there are other opportunities for property owners to go after contractors that they're unhappy with. We, as the PACE provider, would hope that we could resolve any issues between the property owner and the contractor. That's our goal.
I understand.
And in fact, I don't know that there's any other financing mechanism that provides the project oversight the way that PACE does.
Well, there's either oversight or there's not, but just let's agree that we should not cast this as a consumer protection concept. What it really is an exit strategy for the financing company so that they don't have to be part of this transaction if they don't like the quality of the work.
Commissioner, Commissioner, I respect you very much. I just disagree with that. I disagree with that statement. I don't necessarily agree that and maybe somebody from...
Well, absent some formal agreement between the PACE provider and the contractor, that there are obligations that both must meet contractually to ensure the quality of work, then name the consumer protection that's being provided here, aside from PACE leaving the transaction. What is the protection?
Well, I mean, you have the general protection of the PACE provider providing oversight on the contractor, so we have that. Then you've got, if there is a disagreement, right, you have the PACE provider, and my clients, I'm sure, calling. My PACE provider is is there to try to resolve those issues between the contractor.
Good. I would like to see some of that memorialized, if it exists already, something that holds that concept accountable to be true in the future. I don't know that it occurs now. I take you at your word because I know you to be a highly professional attorney and government client representative, but it's not fair for us to just accept what's presented to this board as true when it could. We've heard of the best evidence rule, right?
Sure.
So bring in the evidence that shows that these obligations will be met by the entirety of the financiers out there, not just one. Because maybe your client's doing it, but unless it's part of our ordinance or it's part of a statute, there's no obligation for anyone else to do it. And that may give this board some further comfort that the rights of the consumer are being vindicated.
And to that, it's a great point, and just so for everyone's knowledge and edification, there's an industry group called Pace Nation, which all of the companies have signed on to their basic best practices, codes of conduct, et cetera, and that's where a lot of this information is coming from, and I think one of the other speakers can speak to that as well.
Thank you. Before I recognize Commissioner Marino, Neil, I mean, obviously, we wouldn't be having this conversation if you weren't asking the county to act as the bill collector. So if this was, you know, if the consumer goes to Wells, goes to Bank of America, goes to, you know, Fifth Third or whatever, they're going to have a relationship with the financial institution, which is separate and apart from their relationship with the contractor.
Sure.
And so here, we find ourselves in the position of having to protect the consumer who's engaged by a contractor to work on their home because you're asking us now to be the bill collector, and presumably if they don't make a payment to foreclose, and presumably if there is a dispute between the consumer and the contractor, you're saying essentially the PACE is not going to pay until something is straightened out, and now we have a resident who has a home that's in worse condition than when they started. So, I mean, that's why we're here. I mean, consumers make decisions all the time that we don't want to be involved in. The reason why we're involved in this decision is because we've been asked by the industry to now be the bill collector.
Well, and just a response, Mayor, just remember, that this was a legislative program that was aimed to increase sustainability goals, and in fact, it has throughout the state, number one. Number two, again, when you go to Wells or you go on your credit card to do something, that money is open season. You could buy cruises, you could buy sneakers, which I would do. You could buy computers. You don't necessarily have to spend that money on a home or on a home improvement.
You're not going to lose your house if you don't pay.
That is not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true. If you don't pay a loan, you could go into foreclosure and you could potentially lose assets. And additionally, lastly, the difference between PACE and all of those other programs is the project oversight that, and frankly, is invaluable if that is something that you need.
All right, I don't want you to have to defend the entire industry.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Marino.
As a homeowner, I go through the PACE. I to do a roof. I have my right of rescission. I'm fine with that, but the work done is shoddy.
Can we hold on a second, Commissioner? We're having some problems with your audio. Is there some way we can clean that up? We're getting like every third word.
I might suggest she turn off the virtual background because it's weakening her signal.
All right. Yeah, let's. I guess you don't have enough bandwidth.
Right, that's the word I was looking for.
That's the word.
I need more than coffee and M&Ms.
Oh. Well, now you have no video and just voice. How's
And
that?
you sound much better now. Okay, go for it.
All right. So, Neil,
Yes.
who determines if the work is acceptable or not for payment, for one?
I believe it's the homeowner.
Okay, so it's subjective then.
Again, if the homeowner isn't,
Here's
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Here's my issue. If the work is being done and they've pulled the permits and they've had the inspections and it's passed, the workmanship obviously isn't shoddy enough that the contractor shouldn't be paid. If the work is done and they're going along the process.
We lost her.
Okay.
I think Commissioner Marino's point is that there's some sort of inspection process along with the work that may be an indication of acceptance. I don't know.
Commissioner Marino, are you still on the line? All right, we appear to have lost Commissioner Marino. We will try and get her back. Let's take Commissioner McKinley for the moment. We'll come back to Commissioner Marino.
Thank you. I kind of forgot my question by now.
Well, I'll be here.
Yeah, let's see, where was I? So I think you've just reiterated that if the homeowner is not satisfied with the work, the financer is not releasing the funds until the homeowner signs off on that work to make sure it's up to standard, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so that already exists. The other question I wanted to ask you that came back to me now, if a homeowner decides to utilize your financing mechanisms, are they bound to choose one of the contractors on your list, or may they go out and choose their own contractor?
Whichever contractor the homeowner chooses, if they want to use the Renew product, they would have to either be a Renew certified contractor or they'd have to go through that process.
Okay, thank you. Oh, there she is.
I'm here.
All right, I have Commissioner Marino in the old-fashioned method by telephone. So, yeah, mute your WebEx just so we don't echo back and forth. High tech.
I can mute my speaker too also. Okay. So my question, Bill, and I just texted this to the mayor, was if there's an inspection process in place, then obviously the folks that are going along the process are getting inspected along the way, right? So doesn't the inspection process qualify the work? So back to if the consumer isn't satisfied and a lien is put on their home because the contractor hasn't gotten paid, isn't it like any other person who is doing an improvement to their home where they have to go through the inspection process? And that's what we have our code enforcement and that's what we have our inspectors for at the county and at any municipality?
Yeah. I mean, so a project just doesn't get started, obviously, and gets approved. They go through inspections along the way. So long as it's our customer, our company, as well as the rest of the industry, if the homeowner isn't happy with the work, the funds aren't released. And so even though I guess they could get all the way to a CO, but if the homeowner isn't happy, it's the wrong color, or it extends out a little bit different, or it's not what they expected, then the PACE company is not releasing the funds. Now, my client, Commissioner Kerner, did text me, so I do have some information regarding the mechanics lien. So they said that there is a contractor agreement with contractors between the PACE provider and the contractor, and I believe that that agreement doesn't allow the contractor to place a mechanics lien on the property if they're going through that financing.
So the privity of contract is between the PACE financer and the contractor.
it would appear that there's some privity of contract there, and there's other privity of contract between the homeowner and the contractor too.
Well, this may raise some red flags, because what you're intimating, or what your client is intimating, is that you're making these homeowners waive their right to.
Not homeowners,
No. Who?
the contractor.
That the contractor is waiving his right to sue the consumer?
I got the answer. No pace provider has ever vacated a property owner. Right, the contractor has to. property
Mayor?
satisfaction.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah.
I think we need some clarity on that, whether the consumer is protected, the contractor is protected, or paid.
So
I don't hear clarity there.
He has a note of some sort.
Okay, Neil, do you have an answer for the Commissioner?
I'm gonna before I off the cuff this answer, let me get some clarity, and I will be back to you.
All right, let me do this. We are getting close to 1 o'clock, and I would like to take a break here. We're going to come back at 2 o'clock. We're going to do matters by the public first, and then we're going to return to this discussion, because I think that it's going to need some more conversation before anybody's prepared to approve a motion to publish this for advertising. So with that being said, we're recessed until 2 o'clock. Thank you.